Chapter 3751. The sixth arrow of the Great Solar Calamity Bao, Seamless Tao. Completely merged the illusion God true inheritance into the steps of wisdom. Lin Ling secretly said. At the same time, his soul force also surged, quietly fusing the two different types of power. Fortunately, these two types of energy were based on soul force. Thus, after spending several hours, he succeeded. This also slightly increased the power of the step of wisdom. Looking at the sky again, it just so happened that night had fallen, so Lin Ling estimated the time and immediately began to refine the Dragon Balls again. Speaking of which, this was also Lin Ling's second time refining the Dragon Pearl. Therefore, he was quite familiar with the road. This time, Lin Ling placed the Dragon Pearl on the Sky Dragon's bone. This was because Lin Ling's great calamity vanquishing Sun Bao was nearing the final level. Therefore, he wanted to make use of the breakthrough in his talent to successfully break through to the best level. Rumble. After the Dragon Pearl entered his body, one of Lin Ling's Dantian's Dantian had a majestic heavenly dragon swimming around it. It sat cross-legged around the Dantian, looking extremely shocking and spectacular. At the same time, an endless stream of dragon god power poured into his Dantian, causing the Sky Dragon to have an even more imposing aura, as if it had completely come to life. Speaking of which, Lin Ling originally did not have the dragon god bloodline. After refining the heavenly dragon's dragon bone, he was also just a half-dragon race bloodline. But all these years, he had continuously accumulated and tempered the dragon god's bloodline through treasures. Now, he already possessed a pure dragon god's bloodline. While he was cultivating, the dragon demon inside the broken dragon pearl hidden in his body had also benefited greatly, and its strength had greatly increased. No idea how long had passed either. Lin Ling's Dantian emitted a rumbling sound, soaring straight to the 9 heavens. On this night, many people could clearly see a golden dragon rushing out of the sky, hovering around Snow City. This dragon had undoubtedly shocked the entire city. However, this matter was suppressed by the city lord's mansion. Anyone who attempted to investigate or approach Lin Ling's courtyard was chased away. This allowed Lin Ling's breakthrough to remain undisturbed. On the other hand, the old woman and Song Chiri both knew that Lin Ling's strength was going to increase again. In fact, this was indeed the case. In the early morning, Lin Ling's cultivation room finally quieted down. Lin Ling sat cross-legged and breathed lightly, but the air he exhaled was like a dragon's breath. If someone was present, even a peak martial progenitor realm expert would be shocked, as the person sitting there was not a human, but a dragon. After a long time, Lin Ling opened his eyes. There were 2 dragons lingering in his eyes. Sky Dragon's dragon god talent has reached the 4th grade. His body's strength has reached the strength of 10,000 worlds and his speed has reached the speed of 1,000 worlds. If he fuses his talents, he might reach the strength of 14,000 worlds. Coupled with the art of wind and rain myriad worlds, his speed will reach a terrifying speed of 1,500 worlds. Lin Ling's voice was filled with shock. What kind of concept was that? It meant that Lin Ling could travel across more than 1,000 worlds with a single thought and destroy more than 10,000 worlds with a single punch. Furthermore, after fusing his talents, his rank would reach the 14th grade. He would not have any worthy opponents among the half-martial gods. Calamity Destroyer Bao. At the same time, a bao appeared in Lin Ling's hand. The bao was golden in color, and its surface was covered with dragon bones. It could change its size at will, and from time to time, the words of Buddha floated out from the bao. It was as if the dragon bao was speaking, and it was awe-inspiring. Furthermore, Lin Ling had comprehended the last arrow. The 6th arrow, the seamless path. This also made Lin Ling want to try it out. He wanted to see the power of the 6th arrow, but he restrained his impulse. If he released the 6th arrow in Snow-Blowing City, he was afraid that half of the city would be destroyed. As one of the 8 mystical skills of the dragon tribe, how could the Calamity Destroyer Bao be weak? Not only did the last arrow possess the strength of a peak martial progenitor realm expert, it was close to the strength of a god. This was Lin Ling's new trump card, which was much more powerful than many of his previous tricks. Moreover, Lin Ling was also very emotional. He had many tricks up his sleeves, but each of them intertwined to become stronger. Previously, one of his tricks had become stronger, but in the following days, another one of his trump cards would grow, and that trump card would become even stronger. Lin Ling was looking forward to seeing how powerful all his tricks would be when they reached the peak. Thump. 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 Then, the whole city was filled with the sound of firecrackers. Today was the day of Remnant Sword's wedding. Lin Ling smiled and walked out of the room. When he arrived outside, he found it was bustling with noise and excitement. The whole snowy city was celebrating. Lin Ling instantly knew that Zhang Qiri had given him face. Since the city governor had spoken, how could the whole city not celebrate? When Lin Ling arrived at the courtyard, he found it was decorated with lanterns and banners, and the word "happy" was hung up high. Brother Ling. When Yu and the others saw Lin Ling, they were all delighted. Xiao Yu even dragged Sky-devouring Girl to give Lin Ling wedding candies, which made Lin Ling laugh. However, Lin Ling did not need to do anything for the wedding. He only needed to sit at the head of the table and wait for the guests. Therefore, Lin Ling had already sat at the head of the table. Looking at the seats around him and the maidservants that Yu and the others had invited, he sighed with emotion. Why did he feel that he had aged so much? He was like an old man with a white beard and white hair. In the past, when Lin Ling's son, Lin Ling, got married, he did not feel this way. Now, this feeling was so strong that Lin Ling was speechless. As for Yu and the others, when they saw Lin Ling sitting boldly like the head of the family, they couldn't help but giggle. This also made Lin Ling stare at them fiercely. I am still very young, okay? If you laugh again, I will make sure you can't laugh tonight. Duke Li's mansion has come to congratulate you. At this time, there were finally guests. Duke Shuang's mansion has come to congratulate you. And the number of guests was increasing. Lin Ling, I'm here. Duke Shuang's mansion was actually Zhuang Yanming's home. Zhuang Yanming brought his acquaintances from Snow Wind Academy and came one after another to support them. Lin Ling's mood immediately became good as he greeted them one by one. Yo, did someone die in this countryside? Why is it so lively? There are even firecrackers. But at this time, someone came uninvited. An old man wearing white clothes swaggered into the courtyard with 2 followers. And their appearance caused the entire courtyard to suddenly become silent. Today was a day of great joy, but this old man spoke nonsense, which made people feel extremely unhappy. Who are you people? Yu frowned and immediately asked. We are people from the new heavenly court. Under the orders of Martial God Wen Tian, we are here to find a guy called Lin Ling and tell him a piece of news. The old man looked at the courtyard with contempt and spoke arrogantly. It turned out that the 3-day agreement had arrived. Martial God Wen Tian had obviously found an Yuer, so he came to deliver the news. But it was fine to send the news, but he actually found these idiots to send it? Lin Ling could not help but shake his head. These guys probably did not have any status in the new heavenly court. Otherwise, how could they not know that he was Lin Ling? Chapter 3752. It was a joyous day. I am Lin Ling. Lin Ling immediately stepped forward. The 3 of them looked at Lin Ling in astonishment. Of course, they had heard of Lin Ling's name. It was said that he was an arrogant and unruly person. He wasn't even afraid of the new heavenly court. He had even killed Martial God Qilin. Of course, it was the God-slaying alliance's credit that Martial God Qilin was killed. I was ordered by Martial God Wentian to give you a letter. The old man said arrogantly. He was arrogant because he came from the new heavenly court and could see the heaven-seeking martial stage with his own eyes. To him, this was a great honor. Lin Ling nodded and took it. The old man smiled and said, I was wrong before. Today is not a day of mourning. It seems like it's a happy occasion. Don't you know how to welcome me? Also, I came in a hurry and didn't bring any gifts. I hope you won't mind. He seemed to be asking Lin Ling, but his words had already agreed for Lin Ling. Don't worry, we're not going home until we're drunk. Lin Ling didn't seem to hear the arrogance in the old man's words. Ha! The old man smiled and swaggered into the seats with the two people behind him. From the looks of it, he already regarded himself as his master. Yu and the others were all angry, but Lin Ling didn't say anything, so they didn't say anything. Hee, who's getting married today? Marriage is a major event in life. Lin Ling, as the host of the wedding, you're too stingy. You actually held a banquet in such a small place and didn't even have many guests. Alas, how shabby. The old man sat down and asked someone to pour him a cup of wine. If I had known this would happen, I would have asked the experts of the new heavenly court to come. You can have any kind of experts you want. I've given you enough face. The old man's words were undoubtedly mocking and humiliating Lin Ling. This was because he came from the new heavenly court and could work for Wentian martial god. In his eyes, he was a big shot several times bigger than Lin Ling. On the other hand, Lin Ling was only a scornful kid. By the way, I've heard about the city lord of this city too. Do you want me to invite him for you? Although the city lord is very busy and may not pay attention to you, but to be able to come once is enough to make you proud. Sigh, no matter how I look at it, the three of us are the ones with the most prestige and extravagance in this marriage. How pitiful. The young man beside the young Qin Chens. However, at that instant, a loud Jiu-Chen fan. Tsang Chiu. The heavens lords is God realm. Is God. Course there's God, but the Ling's God was the God course. Who is this guy called Sang Chiri? What a grand display. The course Lin. Is him? The city lord of Snow Wind City. However, behind them, a laugh came. Lin Ling had arrived behind them with a large number of wine jugs. Bang! All the wine was on the table. However, the three of them did not pay attention to the wine. Instead, their pupils constricted. The city lord is also here? Such a big shot, obviously has a much higher status than them. The deputy dean of Snow Wind Academy has arrived. While they were still in shock, another voice came. What, the dean is also here? The old man held the wine cup in his hand and was dumbfounded. The dean of each of the 36 academies in the world was a highly respected figure. But now he was here too? There were countless students in each academy. How could a big shot like the dean come in person for a wedding? What's more, this was not Lin Ling's wedding. The dean of Snow Wind Academy has arrived. However, before the first wave of surprise subsided, another wave came. This time, it was the dean. The elusive principal of the academy. The faces of the three people instantly turned pale. They did not dare to drink any more wine. The people who had appeared not only had status, but even their strength surpassed them by 9 streets. They were shocked. How could this rustic little courtyard attract so many people with such high statuses? The dean of Flickering Academy has arrived. However, not only did the dean of Snow Wind Academy come, even the dean of the nearby academy also came. City Lord Xiao has arrived. Moreover, the nearby City Lord has also come. Plop. The three of them were so scared that their legs were trembling. They almost couldn't sit still in their chairs. The City Lord of E-City has arrived. At this time, a heavyweight had arrived. Everyone was shocked. E-City, the City Lord of the fourth main city in the world, he actually came from afar to congratulate them? This must be fake. The old man's face turned pale. The arrogance from before had completely disappeared, leaving only fear. In front of these big shots, in fact, he was just like a servant. This Lin Ling, where did he get the face to invite these people? Moreover, today seems to be the wedding of one of his guards. Who knows? Anyway, those people are only stronger than the new heavenly court. Let's go. Boss, let's go quickly. Maybe there will be some big shots coming back. Let's go. The two people beside the old man could no longer bear the pressure. The old man's mouth also trembled. This kind of big shot is enough, it's impossible for there to be more. Let's go. However, just as he finished speaking, a loud and clear voice came from outside the door. Miao Di has come to congratulate. Let's go. Bang. 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 The three of them finally could not sit still and sat down on the ground, their faces ashen. Miao Di had also come. This is one of the top 10 martial gods of the 9 regions and also the god emperor of the final world. She actually came in person. One had to know that even though they had heard many stories about the top 10 martial gods of the 9 prefectures, they had never seen the other martial gods. Never had they imagined that they would have the opportunity to meet the other martial gods in this ordinary courtyard. Before, the three of them had said that today's wedding banquet, the three of them had the biggest show and face. But now, they wished they could give themselves a few slaps. Could they compare with those big shots? He couldn't even compare to a single strand of hair. Come, drink, we won't go home until we're drunk. At this time, Lin Ling next to them smiled and poured wine for them. How could the three of them dare to be negligent? They all revealed humble smiles like foxtails. They did not dare to not give face to the wine poured by Lin Ling and drank all of it. They drank until they were dizzy. City Lord Tsang, come, let me introduce a few friends to you. However, at this time, Lin Ling called the City Lord. When the City Lord came, he immediately drank dozens of cups with the three of them. The old man and the other two drank until they almost vomited blood. They kept waving their hands, we can't drink anymore, we can't drink anymore. The wine that Lin Ling brought over was obviously not ordinary wine. Moreover, when martial artists drank, they could not use their world essence to dissolve it. Otherwise, it would be not giving face. Therefore, the three of them drank until they were as drunk as mud. Chapter 3753. Arriving at the Kaiyuan River. Unfortunately, there was no such thing as foresight. What? You don't want to give me face? Tsang Chiri seemed to know what Lin Ling was thinking and immediately shouted. Yes, yes, yes. Yes. The three of them did not dare to object and drank more than 10 cups. Come, Vice Dean, they are the guests of the new heavenly court. Let's get to know each other. Yes. However, Lin Ling, who was beside him, had invited another big shot. Little ancestor, I'll kneel before you, please spare us. The three of them wanted to cry but had no tears. They wanted to refuse, but they were afraid of offending those big shots. In the end, they drank until they vomited blood and their livers hurt. However, Lin Ling did not let them go. He asked everyone to toast him. If they didn't drink it, it would mean that they didn't give him face. So in the end, they drank almost all the wine they had in their lifetime. Bang, 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 they all fell to the ground and couldn't get up. White foam came out of their mouths as they kept talking nonsense. They would probably be drunk for an entire year. This undoubtedly caused Yu and the others to laugh out loud. The three of them were so arrogant. Now they regretted it. Throw them out. Yes. Lin Ling had played enough and immediately waved his hand. Sir, where should we throw them? Someone asked. The latrine. Yes. Lin Ling replied casually. If the three of them were awake, they would be furious. They were the representatives of the new heavenly court. Lin Ling threw them into the latrine. Moreover, they had been beaten to the point of unconsciousness. It would probably take a year for them to sober up. This meant that they would have to spend a year in the latrine. Lin Ling did not take the previous farce to heart. Instead, he was surprised by the guests. Because some of the guests were not notified by him, such as the city lord of East City and Emperor Miao. But they dared to come immediately after they heard the news, which gave him enough face. Lin Ling hurriedly received them politely. When the bride appeared, the atmosphere in the courtyard became more lively. A day later, the lively wedding banquet finally came to an end. Lin Ling also sent all his friends and family off. As he looked at the courtyard that was gradually becoming quiet, he couldn't help but smile. It had been a few years since he came to the final world, and he gradually had his own friends. This was obviously much better than when he first came here alone. That night, Lin Ling took out the letter to check. However, what shocked him was that heaven-seeking martial god found out that the immortal temple Saintis was also in the Origin River. Great! Lin Ling couldn't help but be overjoyed. This meant that while he was searching for an Yuer, he could also complete the Trial of God's mission. Next, Lin Ling informed the old woman and also planned to tell Yu and the others. Regarding this, Yu and the others were reluctant, but they did not stop Lin Ling from going to the Kaiyuan River. Lin Ling reminded them that they would definitely return within 3 years, and let Yu and the others cultivate well in the academy. Moreover, Snow-Blowing City was also Lin Ling's territory. He was not worried that the young demon lord and the others would encounter any mishaps, so he could leave without worry. On this trip to the Kaiyuan River, Lin Ling only brought the platinum evil spirit and the giant ghost. After bidding farewell to everyone, he set off. The Kaiyuan River was a galaxy that appeared in the void of the universe. It was extremely mysterious and ancient. So far, it was one of the secret realms that no one had been able to explore. Following the void of the universe, after a full 10 days, an ancient galaxy finally appeared in the distance. It was like a silver ribbon, but it was extremely magnificent, as if it hid countless mysteries of the universe. Looking at the source and end of the Milky Way, Lin Ling was disappointed because this Milky Way seemed to be endless. One of the most ancient sources of power. At this time, a silent giant ghost finally spoke. This guy had always been by Lin Ling's side. Even when Lin Ling went to meet martial god Wentian, it was also by his side, but it had never spoken. This time, it seemed to be much more energetic than before when it came to the Kaiyuan River. Have you thought of something? Lin Ling knew that the giant ghost had always wanted to know his origin. No, I just feel that it's very familiar. The giant ghost shook its head. It was rare that it was not fierce, as if it was reminiscing about something. Seeing this, Lin Ling did not say much and flew forward. Who knew that although the galaxy looked close, it was actually extremely far away. With Lin Ling's speed, it took him a full day to reach it. However, after getting closer, Lin Ling was also shocked. It was as if he was in a huge universe, and he felt that he was very small. In front of him, waves rumbled. This river was extremely huge. It was more like a sea than a river. On the banks of the river, there were continents floating there. These continents were sometimes disconnected and sometimes connected. Lin Ling did not dare to get close to the Kaiyuan River. He only flew along the banks. Gradually, countless stones floated in front of him. At a glance, he could not see the end of it. However, upon closer inspection, they were not stones, but old armor, weapons, and even bones. Looking at the horizon, there was a continent in the distance. However, there was also a flag on the continent. The flag was blood-red and tattered, as if it was telling of the glory of the past. Battlefield. Lin Ling's heart skipped a beat. He finally realized something. He flew along the ancient battlefield and immediately sensed the intensity of this ancient war. This was because he had flown for a full day, but he still could not see the end. Countless objects from the war were still floating around him. Lin Ling even saw a giant head the size of a mountain. This war is terrifying. Lin Ling's mind seemed to have returned to millions of years ago, when the two races were killing each other. It's the battle between the Wood God tribe and the Stone God tribe. At this time, the giant ghost beside him said. Wood God tribe? That's right. The descendants of the Wood God have strange talents and endless history. They all live in the Kaiyuan River, and so do the Stone God tribe. The Kaiyuan River is said to be the first river of life. Whether it is humans or other species, they all developed from the Kaiyuan River. Therefore, the Kaiyuan River is also called the source of all power. Not only are there all kinds of different races here, but there are also the dragon race and the legendary mother of life. It sounds like it's very powerful. Lin Ling knew that he had stepped into the secrets of the gods' era. The battle was really fierce. What a pity, these treasures are all eroded. Lin Ling listened to the giant ghost as he walked. Along the way, he picked up some treasures. However, as soon as his hand touched them, those treasures immediately turned into dust. Right, you know about the dragon race. Do you know how to find them? Lin Ling suddenly asked. The other side of the river. The giant ghost suddenly pointed ahead, causing Lin Ling to be stunned. He looked over and could not see the other side of the river. If the dragon race was there, did that mean that Lin Ling would have to cross the river? It seems that to complete the mission, it will take a long time. Lin Ling could not help but shake his head. Chapter 3754. Death Chi. However, the Kaiyuan River was too big. It would not be easy to complete these 3 tasks. Moreover, Lin Ling did not know what was hidden in the Kaiyuan River. The unknown was sometimes the most dangerous. That power ahead? Suddenly, Lin Ling's footsteps finally stopped. Death Chi, an incomparably large amount of Death Chi. Lin Ling, your evil ghost jellyfish can devour anything, go and absorb that Death Chi. Even if you can't refine it, you can store it inside your evil ghost jellyfish for future breakthroughs. The giant ghost reminded. Good. Lin Ling nodded excitedly. He hadn't expected such an unexpected harvest. His evil ghost body's swallowing power was stronger than the world-swallowing beast's. He could turn any power into his own. It was like a training accelerator. Although the realm-swallowing beast could swallow anything, it could only swallow physical objects to strengthen its body. It could not convert them into realm essence or other powers. Immediately, Lin Ling flew forward. An ancient land had appeared in front of him. It felt as if a person had come ashore from a river. However, there were still a large number of bones floating in the air. Moreover, there was also an invisible aura of death. This meant that a lot of people had died here. Moreover, because there were too many of them, the aura of death hadn't completely dissipated even after millions upon millions of years. Therefore, to ordinary martial artists, this place was also a forbidden land of death. For example, if one accidentally came into contact with too much death aura, one would become weak and fall sick for no reason. Their vitality would weaken, and it was even possible for them to die. But to some martial artists, these were indeed great supplements. Wraith jellyfish, come out. Compared to the aura of death around him, Lin Ling was more like a god of death. Countless evil spirit jellyfish flew out and began to devour the death chi. I've only just arrived at Kaiyuan River, and this forbidden area has already given me such a big gift. My first impression of Kaiyuan River has improved by quite a bit. Lin Ling's body shook as he sensed the endless death aura being absorbed. However, his eyes were also looking into the distance. The 3-year promise. If not for this agreement, Lin Ling would be very satisfied with his current cultivation speed. However, after the 3-year agreement, he knew that he was still too slow. He could not afford to lose that battle. Because this was the first battle between him and his old enemy after his return. This was also a battle of dignity. As Lin Ling was absorbing the death energy, on the other side, several figures appeared on the ground. They wore large cloaks and their eyes stared ahead, revealing a trace of excitement. Death Chi, dense Death Chi, this is great. Everyone, absorb to your heart's content. Absorb all of this death energy. They let out hoarse voices that sounded like the weeping of nighthawks. It was extremely ear-piercing. You guys don't look like humans, you don't look like ghosts. Let me go if you dare. Behind them, there were a few figures standing there. Their faces were filled with anger. Clearly, they were not the same as the previous ones. However, what was surprising was that although they looked angry, they could not move. So noisy, be a good goo. There's no need to waste time with them. Once the food in their stomachs is gone, they won't be able to scream anymore. The people walking in front said indifferently. Then, they activated their skills and crazily absorbed the death energy. Brother Woody, what should we do? The people behind them were still standing on the ground with anxious looks on their faces. What can we do? Those old guys used goo on us. We can't move at all. I feel like there are worms crawling in my body. Damn. Don't talk about it. It's making me sick. Damn. If you don't talk about it, there won't be any worms crawling in your body? Can't you feel it yourself? These are the old monsters from the land of eternal rest. They're not good at anything, but they can use goo. We've all become their goo. The people behind them became more and more painful as they spoke. They were about to cry. If Lin Ling was here, he would definitely recognize one of them. Who else could it be but Zhang Wudi? They received a mission from the school to find a kinda of ore in the Kaiyuan River. However, as soon as they arrived, they immediately met the old monsters of the 9 regions' 10 evils. Those old monsters saw that their strength was not bad, so they were tempted to cultivate them as goo. Therefore, when they thought of their bodies exploding and countless worms crawling out, Brother Woody and the others shivered in fear. There were hundreds of ways for a person to die. This was one of the most disgusting ways to die. Don't give up. They are now absorbing the death aura, and the death aura is the most terrifying. Perhaps, they might even go berserk. Wang Xiao, you must be dreaming. They are people who crawled out of the grave, so why would they be afraid of death aura? Sigh, I have no choice, so I hope a miracle will happen. Brother Woody and the others were like puppets. They could only talk, but their hearts were in even more pain. There was nothing more painful than watching yourself die with your own eyes. Speak, speak. You are the experts of the school, and your talent is stronger, so it is more difficult to plant goo. However, after we refine this death aura, the goo in your bodies will awaken faster. An old monster's voice suddenly floated over. Hearing this, Brother Woody and the others' pupils constricted. It's over, it's over. The guy called Wang Xiao beside him was constantly blowing. Although his body could not move, he could speak, so he could blow. Wang Xiao, what are you doing? Brother Woody, I'm blowing away the death aura, not letting those guys refine it. Can you blow it away? Don't embarrass me. But we can't just stand here and wait for death. Brother Woody and the others felt more and more pressure. They could even see an endless stream of death aura entering the bodies of the people in front of them, and the speed was getting faster and faster. This meant that their time of death was getting closer and closer. God, save us. In the end, Brother Woody could only keep shouting in his heart. Chi chi chi. However, at this moment, in the sky in front of them, endless ghost shadows surged like a new army, and then crazily devoured the death aura. These ghost shadows devoured the death aura as if they were eating a sesame seed cake, one big bite after another, and there was no end to it. After eating their fill, they would disappear, and then another wave would come and devour crazily. That feeling was like the reincarnation of a hungry ghost. That's right, a hungry ghost. Brother Woody and the others' pupils constricted, and then they laughed excitedly. There really was a god. As for the old monsters, they were still devouring the death aura at first, but they gradually realized that something was wrong, because the death aura around them was getting dimmer and dimmer. They could not help but raise their heads, and then they were all furious. Someone was actually stealing their death aura. Moreover, they had only sent 3 people, but the other party had sent out countless small soldiers. How could 3 people compare to countless small soldiers? The answer was obviously impossible. The other party was stealing their kill, it was simply too exaggerated. Bastard. Chapter 3755. The Place of Eternal Rest. The old man floated up and saw 2 figures on the other side. One of them was sitting cross-legged, and jellyfish would rush out of his body from time to time. A large amount of death aura was taken away by him. As for the other person, he was tall and sturdy, standing behind him like a bodyguard. Go to hell. The old man couldn't care less. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of essence blood. The blood mist immediately dispersed and condensed into a blood silkworm the size of a calf. The silkworm made a chirping sound and suddenly spat out a huge blood bead. Rumble. It had to be said that this huge blood bead was extremely powerful. It was as big as a stone mill, and after shooting it, it immediately exploded. The nearby area shook, and the bones left behind in the ancient battlefield were all shattered into pieces. You're courting death. The old man quickly retreated and continued to refine the death aura. In his opinion, the previous person should have been killed by the explosion. And the truth was so, because after he attacked, those annoying jellyfish disappeared. God, did you abandon us? Seeing this, Brother Woody and the others wanted to cry. They finally saw a savior, but he was killed. Was God trying to destroy them? However, they didn't see that on the other side, the golden white evil spirit stretched out one hand, and on its palm, various storms were swirling. The young man under the golden white evil spirit was unscathed. Instead, he stood up with a cold expression and slowly floated up without saying anything. Everyone, the death aura is an ownerless thing. You refine yours, and I devour mine. Well, water doesn't interfere with the river water, but you attacked me. What is the meaning of this? A cold voice suddenly sounded in the sky. It was Lin Ling's voice. God is here again. Looking at the floating figure, Brother Woody and the others were excited. But that person looks so familiar. God, it's Brother Lin Ling. Someone shouted. Brother Lin Ling, it's me. Brother Woody, no, it's Zhang Woody. Brother Woody quickly shouted, and his words attracted Lin Ling's attention. He actually met someone familiar. He's not dead? The 3 men in large cloaks looked at Lin Ling in surprise. They obviously didn't expect Lin Ling to still be alive after their attack. Lad, the death aura here belongs to us. I'll give you a chance. Run away now, and you might still be able to live. The three men were like dying old men, and they didn't move. "We are heroes' resting place." One of them even let out a solemn voice. The land of eternal slumber of heroic spirits was one of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils. Moreover, it was an extremely strange and ancient power. This was because they could cast goo worms without anyone noticing. Those who were afflicted with the goo worms would have their strength controlled by others. They would rather die than live. Next, the 3 of them started to count off. 2. This was because they had fought with these 3 people before. They knew how terrifying their strength was, especially one of them. He was even a half-step martial god. Although Lin Ling was powerful, he shouldn't be able to defeat a half-step martial god. So it's the old man from Hero's resting place. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. 3. Almost at the same time, someone finally finished counting. With that, he finally took off his cloak, revealing a disgusting face. This face was crawling with horrifying centipedes, crawling back and forth from his nose to his ears. Some centipedes even suddenly fell to the ground and crawled back and forth. It was an extremely disgusting sight. "You don't have to live anymore." He slowly floated up and flew toward Lin Ling at an extremely fast speed. "Brother Lin Ling, be careful." Brother Woody and the others became worried. Speaking of which, they felt disgusted just by being close to the centipede old man, let alone fighting him. No wonder he's so powerful. "You don't have to live anymore," Lin Ling said coldly. Lin Ling had come into contact with Hero's resting place a few times, but most of them were his enemies. Now that he had encountered an ancient force, Lin Ling did not need to show them any respect. "Be my venomous insect." The old man floated up and waved his right hand. His nostrils immediately sprayed out a pink poisonous mist like a centipede. It was a breathtaking sight, but it also showed how terrifying it was. The poisonous mist covered the entire area, including Lin Ling. Continue. Under the ground, the 2 old men continued to refine the death chi as if they knew Lin Ling was dead. "Brother Lin Ling, retreat now." As for Brother Woody and the others, they were yelling. Of course, their warning was too late as Lin Ling was already covered by the poisonous mist. They obviously knew that the poisonous mist was not only poisonous, but also that there were countless tiny venomous insects hidden in the poisonous mist. They were all the size of dust. This meant that as long as one was in the poisonous mist, they would be poisoned and controlled by others. That was how they had been poisoned before. Speaking of which, they could not resist at all. "You didn't take the path to heaven and barged into hell. Why?" At this moment, in the poisonous mist, the old man let out a sinister laugh. Then, he said indifferently, "My venomous insect, come here." As if hearing his call, a burly figure slowly appeared in the poisonous mist. However, his pupils constricted. That was because the thing that appeared in front of him was extremely beautiful. Its entire body was pitch black and shiny, but it had dragon claws. Behind it were wriggling tentacles that looked like dazzling wings. Such a thing could be called a monster. What a strange thing. However, I'll study it slowly when I get back. The old man said with a smile. That's a good idea. Unfortunately, you can't go back. However, the monster in front of him suddenly spoke. As soon as he finished speaking, a dragon claw came at him. That gave the old man a fright. His eyeballs almost fell out. That was because those who were poisoned could only speak and listen to his orders. But now, the monster in front of him could actually attack him. However, his strength was extraordinary. When he saw Lin Ling attack, he immediately attacked. Countless centipedes appeared and intertwined with each other, turning into a wriggling centipede ball that collided with the dragon claw. The centipede ball looked extremely disgusting. It was full of centipedes crawling. Boom! The dragon claw collided and scattered the centipedes. However, the monster's body was also crawling with centipedes. When the old man saw that, he could not help but laugh. Of course, that smile did not last long. That was because he saw with his own eyes that the pitch-black skin on that person's body was like mud that swallowed his centipedes. After that. There was no more after that. Those centipedes seemed to have been swallowed. What kind of monster was that? It was practically invulnerable to fire and water. Do you still have those poisons? At that moment, the monster also made a sound. What do you mean? The old man became more and more surprised because he sensed that the person in front of him was not poisoned at all. Because it's delicious. The monster touched his chin and said with a smile. Chapter 3756. Blood Silkworm King. The old man's venomous insect was indeed powerful. It could penetrate anything, but it was only harmful to elites who cultivated the realm essence. As for Lin Ling, his god-demon body was strong. Even the venomous insect that entered his body was swallowed up. This time, the venomous insect that was swallowed up was the realm-swallowing beast. This also made Lin Ling realize that the talent of the realm-swallowing beast had improved a little. Therefore, he spoke with anticipation. Pervert. The old man's body trembled and he subconsciously retreated. Saying his goo was delicious? If this wasn't perverted, then what was? Didn't you see Brother Invincible and the others? They couldn't wait to avoid his goo poison. Go! The old man didn't dare to stay any longer. He only wanted to avoid this monster immediately. However, it was too late for him to think of leaving now. You planted the goo in me before, now it's my turn. Lin Ling sneered, a whirlpool appeared on his pitch-black chest, and then one by one, evil ghost jellyfish flew out, crazily trying to devour the old man. Moreover, the surrounding poisonous fog was also being devoured by those wraith jellyfish. The characteristics of the evil ghost tribulation physique were being fully utilized by Lin Ling. The ghost element was known for its ghost Tao, and the place of eternal rest was also known for its ghost Tao. Unfortunately, the ghost Tao met the ghost Tao, and the evil ghost was clearly stronger. Beneath the ground, Brother Invincible and the others were still looking at the sky. Something's wrong. However, someone noticed that the poisonous fog in the sky was getting thinner and thinner. In the end, they disappeared without a trace. Instead, a few figures appeared. One of them was in an extremely miserable state. He was entangled by countless jellyfish and was being devoured crazily. He let out a painful cry. This scene shocked everyone on the ground. Then, in the direction of his gaze, the old man from before had been forcefully sucked into a dried corpse and smashed to the ground. Who are you? Almost at the same time, the other two old men looked towards the sky. There was clearly an additional trace of seriousness in the depths of their eyes. It was because they knew just how powerful the elder who died before was, yet he turned into a dried corpse. Moreover, the young man from before had also turned into a monster. This scene was too bizarre. Now, I don't think there's a need to know who I am. In the sky, Lin Ling looked down at the two of them, and a dragon bow appeared in his hand. He could sense that one of them was extremely powerful. He was a half-step martial god. Therefore, there was no need to use ordinary methods. Seeing Lin Ling take the initiative to attack, the two of them were obviously stunned. They didn't expect this person to be so arrogant and rude. Who were they? They were one of the 19 Gu elders of the place of eternal rest. What did this mean? This meant that they were all one Gu. A Gu that was left behind after 10,000 years of mutual devouring and killing in the resting place of heroic spirits. This was especially true for the half-step martial god realm old man. His original body was a blood silkworm king. He had stood out among millions of blood silkworms and devoured countless blood silkworms to obtain his current status. He was already used to the law of the jungle. He had fought countless battles in his life, but when his enemies saw him, which one of them didn't act as if they were facing a great enemy? They didn't even attack if they could. However, that young man was unforgiving and even dared to attack him. "Old worm, you do it." One of the old men took a step back. Obviously, he knew that Lin Ling was indeed powerful since he could kill the first old man. However, he firmly believed that Lin Ling alone was not enough to fight against the 19 blood silkworms of the half-step martial god realm. He was overestimating himself. The leading old man nodded and walked forward step by step. He took off his cloak. The terrifying thing was that there was not a single piece of perfect flesh and bones on his body. Moreover, a large number of poisonous insects were crawling on his body. It was a shocking sight. Then, a bloody glow appeared on his body. A powerful aura spread out. It was very fanatical, making one feel as if they were at the bottom of a volcano. It was also a half-step martial god realm Jia Yuan. Brother Woody and the others felt as if their bodies were about to melt. Then, they shouted, "Brother Lin Ling, don't worry about us. Let's go." They obviously knew that Lin Ling was no match for that old monster. He can't leave. The blood silkworms have their eyes on him. However, an old man appeared beside him and said with a sinister smile. As soon as he said that, the old monster in front finally made his move. He had used himself as a venomous insect to awaken the 10,000-year blood silkworm. The blood silkworm devoured the old man's flesh in a frenzy, causing the old man to cry out in pain. When the blood silkworm was full, it transformed into a mountain-like blood silkworm king in front of the old man. Countless legs were wriggling. Its blood-red body looked extremely disgusting. The blood silkworm king can kill gods. The old man beside Brother Woody laughed sinisterly at that moment. As soon as he said that, the blood silkworm king expanded as if it was brewing something. Seeing that, the two old men were extremely excited. The blood silkworm king is angry. It's finally angry. I haven't seen it angry for 1,000 years. My cute baby, you're finally angry. That's great. Let us see your beautiful body. In the land of eternal rest, everyone worshipped venomous insects. The more powerful the venomous insect, the more likely it was to become their totem. Kid, enjoy the last scene in this world. One of the old men even raised his hands to the sky and roared excitedly. The expanded blood silkworm king was rumored to be able to kill gods. It continued to expand until it was as large as a city, just like a mosquito that had absorbed blood. The nearby area immediately shook as if the sky was falling and the earth was splitting. At that moment, Lin Ling was also staring at the blood silkworm king. Naturally, he could sense how terrifying it was. It could be said that the blood silkworm king's attack could threaten a martial god. However, Lin Ling did not retreat. The more powerful the blood silkworm king was, the more he wanted to see. That was because he had always wanted to test the power of the calamity-destroying sun bow. He held the bow tightly in his hand and it gradually expanded until it was 10 meters tall. The golden bow was dazzling. It was a living example of the dragon god's dragon bone. Countless Buddhist chants drifted out from it. That's quite a majestic bow. Beside Brother Woody and the others, the old man said with a smile, "That's right. In terms of appearance, it's quite intimidating. However, its power is only average. Look at that bow. It's so skinny that it has no flesh. It's all bones." He was actually mocking Lin Ling's bow. It was obvious how confident he was in the blood silkworm king. After that, he looked at Brother Woody and the others and said, "Speaking of which, are all of you from the 36 colleges so stupid? You and him too. You know you're no match for him, yet you don't run. Isn't that courting death? Shut up." Brother Woody could not hold it in any more. They all knew that the old man was deliberately adding insult to injury. Of course, they were also shocked by Lin Ling's courage because they were caught because they could not escape. As for Lin Ling, he clearly had the ability to escape, but he didn't. Chapter 3757. The Sixth Arrow in the Preliminary Test. The Blood Silkworm King, as large as a small city, opened its mouth and spat out a bead of blood. The strength contained within this bead was unimaginable. This blood bead attack, other than its speed, did not have any other characteristics. If there was anything special about it, it would be its explosive power. How fierce was he? Slaying a deity was not difficult. In the blink of an eye, the bead of blood had already appeared in front of Lin Ling, drowning out everything. But at this moment, Lin Ling finally shot an arrow. Time seemed to freeze. Buddhist words floated out. The sixth arrow, what is 5? The first is to suffer day and night, to the point of calamity. Of the two, one person was full, and many people were full. The 3 were the sin weapon trident, eagle snake, wolf dog. 4 of them were either dragons, gods, heavens, or ghosts. 5 of them, if they fell into this prison, they would die 10,000 times and live 10,000 times. 6, because they are continuous, they are called seamless. Seamless Tao. The arrow shot out, seamless world Tao. One was hell, and the other was the Buddha realm. The black and white worlds fused together, turning into a huge black and white arrow that shot forward. The arrow was several hundred meters long and 5 meters wide. The godly arrow was only so. Rumble. The 2 ferocious attacks collided. In the beginning, the Blood Silkworm King's blood bead had the upper hand, but it was gradually pushed back by the arrow. What? Almost at the same time, the 2 old men roared. As for Brother Invincible, they were also like wooden blocks. In the battle at Yi Garden, Lin Ling had defeated Duan Wuhan, but Duan Wuhan was not a half-step martial god. But now, no one was optimistic about Lin Ling, including them. However, Lin Ling used an arrow to repel the Bloodworm Monarch's attack. One had to know what the Bloodworm Monarch was. It was a giant goo left behind after 10,000 years of fighting. How could such a thing happen to an early-stage martial progenitor realm junior? Was this a fucking dream? After the 2 old men roared, they were immediately dumbfounded. However, was this the end? Obviously, no. The black and white arrow, carrying the thoughts of good and evil, began to spin wildly. Chi! Chi! The huge blood bead began to tremble. It was penetrated, and then it exploded with a boom. In that moment, even the giant ghost's eyes flickered. Far away, on the other side of the Kaiyuan River, in an ancient and enormous valley, a pair of eyes suddenly appeared, looking off into the distance. The great calamity destroying Sun Bao of the 8 tribes of the Dragon Clan. There's actually a dragon who has cultivated this Bao to the final level? This voice was low and deep like a dragon's roar, but it carried a powerful majesty. At the same time, in the surrounding valleys, countless dragon roars resounded. The sound was so loud that it could shake the gods. And on the other side of the Kaiyuan River, there were continuous booms. After the blood bead exploded, the black and white arrows continued to shoot towards the Blood Silkworm King. G. The Blood Silkworm King let out a terrified cry. It clearly sensed that the arrow could kill it, because there was a way to restrain it. It was a goo, so its defense against Buddha-type power would be weakened. Moreover, this arrow was no ordinary arrow. Seeing the Bloodworm King cry out in pain, the 2 old men shouted anxiously, "Little King, are you all right? Don't kill it." Unfortunately, it was useless. How can you turn back an arrow that has left the bow? Boom! The blood light exploded, and the Blood Silkworm King was shot by the arrow. However, the Blood Silkworm King was worthy of being a giant goo that had been devouring for 10,000 years. It actually made the Dragon Bow's arrow disappear. Piak piak piak. Countless pieces of flesh fell to the ground like small hills, and the ground was also dyed red by the stench of blood. The surroundings were silent. The two old men opened their mouths wide. Brother Woody and the others' eyes were trembling. When they looked at the sky again, Lin Ling had already returned to his original state. He was breathing heavily, exhausted. This arrow had consumed all of his strength. It felt as if he had been fighting with someone for a few years. One should know that Lin Ling's physical body was strong and he never felt tired. However, at this moment, he felt exhausted. No wonder that arrow was so terrifying. Ha! However, Lin Ling laughed, laughing extremely happily. This was his first time testing the final arrow, and its power made him feel terrified. He had a feeling that not many half-step martial gods would be able to block this arrow. It might even pose a threat to a martial god. He was only a beginner martial progenitor, but his combat strength was comparable to a half-step martial god's. This showed how terrifying Lin Ling's triple cultivation of Qi, essence, and spirit was. That being said, this arrow was also his last resort. After using it, Lin Ling's physical strength would not be able to be used in the short term. The only thing he could use was his realm origin. You killed Little King. On the ground, the half-step martial god realm old man finally roared furiously. Little King? He did not expect such a terrifying thing to be called Little King. Didn't you see it? In the sky, Lin Ling took a few deep breaths and said with a calm smile. His expression and tone were calm, as if it had nothing to do with him. Die. The two old men were no longer as calm as they were before. They were about to lose their minds. They were the only ones who knew how the Blood Silkworm Emperor was nurtured and how many resources were used to nurture it. Besides, they had been waiting for 30,000 years. They had initially planned to nurture the Blood Silkworm Emperor into a Blood Silkworm Emperor, but it had been killed by a young cultivator in this godforsaken place. This young cultivator had been too ruthless. He's exhausted. I'm afraid even a dog could bite him to death. Old worm, kill him. The other old man also roared ferociously. In his anger, he also called himself a dog. Hee, you're right, grandpas. However, do you really think you can kill me? In the sky, Lin Ling nodded. As soon as he finished his sentence, the two old men lunged at him. Although they were relying on the Blood Silkworm Emperor, their strength was not weak at all. One of them was even a half-martial god. Seeing them attacking, Brother Woody and the others were about to yell at Lin Ling, but for some reason, they refrained from doing so. They had a feeling that even if Lin Ling was exhausted, he would not be afraid of the two old monsters. Even though an exhausted lion was about to fall asleep at any time, it was not something an ant could tear apart. As expected, as soon as the two old men appeared in front of Lin Ling, the platinum demon behind Lin Ling finally made its move. It was not any weaker than the Calamity Destroyer Bao. As soon as it made its move, the two old men immediately realized that something was not right. However, Lin Ling did not even look at them as he walked towards the ground. It was as if he had turned a blind eye to the entire process. In his opinion, the half-martial god realm cultivators who had lost the Blood Silkworm Emperor's strength had decreased by half. If Lin Ling was at his peak, he would have dared to fight him too. Furthermore, Lin Ling's physical strength had disappeared, but he still had his Jia Qi and his soul force. The two old men were no longer a threat to him. Not to mention fighting against the Platinum Demon. As expected, a fierce battle broke out in the sky. Blood splattered everywhere. How could the two old men stop the Platinum Demon? One of them was soon eaten. Chapter 3758. The Map. The other cultivator was astounded as he begged Lin Ling to spare his life. Unfortunately, it was useless. Holy shit, brother Lin Ling, you're too ferocious. You even have such a powerful expert with you. I've seen that expert before at the Jade Forest Inn. I didn't expect him to be so powerful. Brother Woody and the others were shocked. However, Lin Ling went up to them and checked their condition. He immediately unleashed the demon jellyfish and warned them not to resist. The demon jellyfish devoured their energy, but it only devoured the poison in their bodies. A moment later, the cultivators recovered. Brother Lin Ling, I can never repay you for saving my life. Brother Woody and the others dropped to their knees before Lin Ling excitedly after being freed from the trap. Please accept us as your underlings. The previous battle had shown them how powerful Brother Lin Ling was. Most importantly, Brother Lin Ling was only an early-stage martial progenitor. Don't worry about it. We're friends, there's no need to be so courteous. Lin Ling waved his hand with a smile. He then rested on the spot while unleashing the demon jellyfish to devour the deathly chi in the surroundings. Brother Woody and the others did the same. After resting for a while, Lin Ling asked, "Why are you here at the Kaiyuan River?" Brother Woody and the others were quite surprised. Brother Lin Ling, what's so strange about it? Many people from the Shenzhen Hall of the 36 Institutes would come to the Kaiyuan River. That's right, although the Kaiyuan River is dangerous, it's also a land of treasures. There are countless royal crystal veins here, so many people would come here. That's right. Besides, we've received a quest from the Institute. We're here to look for something called the purple mystical ore. They continued to speak. Lin Ling's eyes flickered. He was not familiar with the Kaiyuan River, but it seemed like Brother Woody and the others were quite familiar with it. He immediately asked them about it. Afterward, he learned that the Kaiyuan River was not like what Lin Ling had imagined. This place was extremely open, and many experts of the 9 prefectures came and went from here. Especially the people of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, they came in and out of this place as frequently as eating meals. Lin Ling originally wanted to find the whereabouts of the Immortal Temple, but Brother Woody and the others didn't know either. They only told Lin Ling that in the depths of the Kaiyuan River, many experts were fighting over the mine. This meant that if Lin Ling wanted to find the Immortal Temple, it would take a long time. Lin Ling, don't you have a 3-year promise? It just so happens that I can use this Kaiyuan River to increase my strength. At this time, the giant ghost quietly said. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Although Lin Ling was confident that he could defeat Longyang in 3 years, there were exceptions to everything. As one of the 9 prefectures' 10 martial gods, Wendian martial god must have accumulated a lot of resources and treasures over the years. If he spent all his efforts to cultivate Longyang, then Lin Ling would not be able to defeat Longyang. To prevent things from getting out of hand, Lin Ling had to increase his strength again. At least, he had to be invincible in the half-step martial god realm. After talking for a while, Lin Ling had recovered half of his strength. He then asked, "Where are you going next?" "Follow the river bank and try to find the purple mystical Oregon. Then, we'll return to the academy to submit the task." Brother Woody and the others immediately said. Lin Ling nodded. "I'm going to the other side of the Kaiyuan River." "What?" Brother Woody and the others narrowed their eyes. As far as they knew, no one had ever been to the other side of the Kaiyuan River. "Why? Is it difficult?" Lin Ling couldn't help but ask when he saw their surprised expressions. "It's not just difficult, it's simply impossible. I heard that on the other side of the Kaiyuan River, there are countless secrets of the gods. However, for so many years, no one has ever crossed the Kaiyuan River and reached the other side." Brother Woody said, "This Kaiyuan River is very big, even bigger than the sea. It's impossible to cross the river from the surface. You can only cross from the bottom of the river. You can do that? Lin Ling was surprised. Brother Woody nodded. The bottom of the Kaiyuan River is very big. It's not completely filled with water. There are vacuum areas, but it's very chaotic. Not only are there people of the 9 prefectures' 10 evils, there are also many unknown races. Anyway, it's very dangerous. Brother Lin Ling, if you want to go, I happen to have a map here. Then, Brother Woody took out a map, causing the people beside him to gasp. They asked, Brother Woody, you actually have a map? It could be seen that it was extremely rare to be able to obtain a map of the Kaiyuan River. Yeah, I bought it in Yao City last time. At that time, no one knew that this was a map of the Kaiyuan River. I only confirmed it when I saw the words Guyuan Mountain Range. Brother Woody said with a smile. This map was obviously a very precious item. However, Lin Ling had saved them, so Brother Woody gave it to Lin Ling. Lin Ling immediately took the map and looked at it. He discovered that there was a layer of mist on the surface of the map. Looking through the map, it was simply a map of the continent. There were demonic forest, Guyuan Mountain Range, ancient dragon desolate land and other places. It was unknown who drew the map, but it seemed to have traveled all over the Kaiyuan River. Moreover, the mist was changing at any time. Looking at the map again, the path had also changed. No wonder, for so many years, countless people had traveled the Kaiyuan River, but no map had ever been drawn. It turned out that the terrain could change at any time. Brother Woody, thank you. Lin Ling instantly knew how precious the map was. Hee hee. Brother Woody laughed excitedly and pointed ahead, follow this direction and you will see the entrance of the Kaiyuan River. We will not enter the Kaiyuan River. There are too few people, and it is very dangerous to enter. I wish Brother Lin Ling a safe journey. Okay. Lin Ling quickly nodded. Then, he watched Brother Woody and the others leave, while he continued to devour the surrounding death chi. He couldn't help but sigh. If he hadn't met Brother Invincible, he would have been lost in the Kaiyuan River. If he did not return after 3 years, others would think that Lin Ling was afraid of battle and could not hide. Come back. After a long time, Lin Ling saw that the surrounding death chi had been completely devoured. He also stood up. Swoosh. 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 Countless evil ghost jellyfish flew back, densely packed, and the scene was spectacular. After entering Lin Ling's body, Lin Ling immediately discovered that his cultivation was constantly increasing. However, he now had 6 stanchions. If he wanted to break through, the difficulty had increased by a lot. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. The training time would not be short, and he could slowly refine it. According to the direction that Brother Woody had pointed, Lin Ling slowly walked forward with his bodyguards, as if he was a lone swordsman who did not fit in with the world. However, Lin Ling was very much looking forward to the upcoming trip to the Kaiyuan River. How could a person's entire life be spent in a small world that they knew of? The outside world was even more exciting. After a long time, a huge water curtain door appeared in front of them. Water flowed down with a rumbling sound. What was strange was that the waves of water rushed up to the sky, but they didn't rush to the shore at all. Looking from afar, it was as if they were looking at a water cliff. Nothing is too strange in the universe. Chapter 3759. The Wood Deity Tribe. There was no water behind the water curtain door. At first glance, it was extremely vast. Before long, a primeval forest appeared in front of him. This forest was ancient and huge, different from what Lin Ling had seen before. However, Lin Ling could not tell what was different about it. Looking at the map, he realized that this forest was called the Demonic Forest. Lin Ling, be careful. This is the territory of the wood deities. At this moment, the giant ghost reminded him softly. Lin Ling immediately nodded. Although his current strength was not weak, in an unknown place, it was better to be cautious. It was said that the wood deity tribe did not have a good relationship with humans. Warriors who passed through this forest, as long as they were not strong enough, were likely to be killed. Therefore, Lin Ling could not be careless. Continuing forward, the trees in front of him reached the clouds. Vines and branches intertwined, making Lin Ling feel that he was not in water at all. Moreover, there were rays of light shining down from the sky, like the sun. However, Lin Ling was sure that it was not sunlight. After walking like this for 4 hours, the surroundings were still quiet. Even the sound of birds could not be heard. Lin Ling gradually felt that something was wrong because the surroundings were too quiet. He could not help but stop in his tracks and frown. Was he discovered? Or was there someone following him? Almost as soon as this thought came to his mind, an arrow was shot from the depths of the forest. However, Lin Ling easily dodged it. That arrow landed on the huge tree behind Lin Ling. The tree that was hugged by 5 people instantly fell down. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. Almost at the same time, shadows flashed and sounds came from the trees above. A moment later, a large number of shadows appeared and surrounded Lin Ling. On the trees, a large number of people held bows and arrows, pointing at Lin Ling. Under the trees, there were short swords, also pointing at Lin Ling. What surprised Lin Ling was that these people were different from the people he had seen before. Their hair was green, their ears were sharp, their figures were tall, the men were handsome, and the women were captivating. Their pupils were also purple, but most of them were green. They were coldly looking at Lin Ling. When Lin Ling looked up, he almost had a nosebleed. It turned out that the people standing on the trees and pointing arrows at Lin Ling were mostly women. Most importantly, they were not only beautiful, but their clothes were also very unique. Only a few flower petals were covering some parts of their bodies. Their thighs, arms, buttocks, and so on. Even the flower petals were sometimes unable to cover some important parts of their bodies. Just like Lin Ling, when he looked up, he immediately saw many things that he shouldn't have seen. However, these women were also extremely beautiful. Therefore, it caused people to become restless. Lin Ling looked away reluctantly. After all, he was not an animal who thought with his lower body. These should be the wood deity tribe. Lin Ling also secretly transmitted his voice to the giant ghost. The giant ghost Lin Lin was Lin. Was God Lu deity God nation is continent nation Lucas. Of Lin Lin Mu Lin. Human, you've entered the forbidden area. At this moment, a crisp voice sounded. It was very pleasant to the ears, just like the sound of a bell. A woman with a seductive figure jumped down from the tree. After landing, her plump breasts bounced like a rabbit. Then, she held a sword in one hand and a bow in the other and walked towards Lin Ling. Although her aura was very cold, because she was too beautiful and wore revealing clothes, Lin Ling did not have any hostility towards her. Forbidden area. Then, Lin Ling smiled and did not say anything. Humans are the most despicable and shameless. Look at that smile, it's full of lust and evil. Men, bring this person back to the forest of life. The beautiful woman was enraged and shouted in a delicate voice. I'm innocent. Lin Ling admitted that he did not smile lewdly. He only smiled in disdain. Because although there were many people around, he still felt that these people could not stop him. Yes, Miss Shengna. The handsome men immediately nodded and pounced on Lin Ling with their short swords. Lin Ling shook his head and did not say anything. The true inheritance dark sword behind him automatically flew out and blocked those men. Those men wanted to get close to Lin Ling, but they could not get close at all. This infuriated everyone. This person was so powerful. You're from the Golden Deity tribe? The woman in the lead furrowed her brows and shouted in a delicate voice. Golden Deity tribe? Lin Ling chuckled in his heart and did not answer. He only has 18 swords. I don't believe he's so powerful. Capture him. The woman saw that Lin Ling did not speak and thought that Lin Ling was looking down on them. She immediately became angry. Whoosh! 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 Above the branches, a large number of arrows were shot. These arrows were not to be underestimated. They were much more powerful than the sword-wielding men. Unfortunately, they met Lin Ling. Lin Ling's heart moved. He used the dual dragon god talent. He did not even use the evil ghost jellyfish and the realm-swallowing beast. He directly turned into a dragon man. Ding! Ding! All the arrows landed on Lin Ling's body. It was as if they were shooting at a hard rock, and all of them were bounced off. Armor? The Stone Deity tribe's armor? The leading woman was shocked. She then shouted angrily, "Shoot his eyes!" Ding! Ding! However, it was still useless. Lin Ling opened his eyes and let them shoot. However, they could not penetrate Lin Ling's pupils. This time, everyone was dispirited. He has the Golden Deity tribe's sword and the Stone Deity tribe's armor. He's too powerful. The people said one after another. At this time, Lin Ling said calmly, "I just entered Kaiyuan River. However, the land in Kaiyuan River is constantly changing. Therefore, I appeared here. However, I'm just passing by. I don't intend to cause any trouble. Therefore, don't bother me anymore. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." The forest was huge. Lin Ling did not know how long it would take to walk. Therefore, it was better to avoid unnecessary trouble. This was also the reason why he did not attack these people. Too arrogant. In the end, it would have been better if Lin Ling had not reminded them. Once he did, everyone felt as if they had been humiliated. "We don't believe that you're really that powerful." At this time, a mysterious melody spread out. Then, on the ground, the branches intertwined. Then, a large number of people appeared in front of Lin Ling. These people were older and stronger. They were comparable to the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Moreover, Lin Ling felt that they were immortal. The vitality in their bodies was extremely strong. It seemed like these people's strength could also become stronger in the forest. However, Lin Ling was not afraid of this little bit of strength. "I don't care if you believe it or not, but that's all you've got in my eyes," Lin Ling said calmly. "You're quite stubborn. However, it's useless to say more. Let's see if you're really that powerful." Most of the people were old. The swords in their hands were emitting a green glow. They looked quite extraordinary. The Wood God clan was merciful and allowed this brat to meet Her Majesty the Queen. But in the end, this brat refused to go. After all, the Queen was so noble that even the human martial gods were not qualified to meet her. "Say that again." The woman frowned and said, as if she was afraid that she had misheard him. "Why would I go? You wood gods, on the other hand, don't you think you're too bored? I was just walking my own path when you suddenly stopped me. Then you said that the noble Her Majesty the Queen wanted to see me. Are you that bored? To be honest, I don't have time. I have to hurry. Of course, if Her Majesty the Queen really has something urgent, she can still come to me before I leave this place." Lin Ling nodded and said, "Chi chi." Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Did this guy eat garlic? How could he be so arrogant that he wanted Her Majesty the Queen to come to him personally? The strongest wood gods immediately shouted angrily, "I have never seen a human more arrogant than us wood gods. Hee hee, it's not up to you whether you want to go or not." They were so angry that they exploded. If Lin Ling did not want to go, they would forcibly kidnap Lin Ling and go. "Yes, you still want to leave? Do you think this is your home?" Sheng Na clenched her teeth and said. She was so angry that the two little white rabbits on her body kept jumping. This human showed his arrogance in front of the Wood God clan and then wants to leave? Lin Ling looked at Sheng Na with great interest and admired her body. Then, he said indifferently, "You want to use force? Let me remind you, at that time, you won't be able to be arrogant." Angry. The Wood God clan people's eyes turned red. No. However, at this time, the Great Elder stopped them. "Her Majesty the Queen said that we can only invite this person, we can't use force." What? Sheng Na opened her mouth wide and the others stomped their feet in anger. Although Lin Ling's strength was quite impressive, in their eyes, he was only at the early stage of the martial progenitor realm. However, such a person had never shown any hint of respect toward them. The most infuriating thing is that Her Majesty the Queen did not allow them to touch Lin Ling. "What do you want before you come with me?" The Great Elder was also angry, but he did not dare to disobey Her Majesty the Queen's order. Lin Ling smiled. These people are angry? One had to know that the one who should be angry was Lin Ling. He, Lin Ling, had been walking his own path, yet these people had suddenly blocked his path and spoke arrogantly. If it wasn't for the fact that Lin Ling didn't want to cause trouble, he would have already beaten them to the ground. "Everyone, apologize." Lin Ling thought for a while and said indifferently. Although he was not interested in meeting Her Majesty the Queen, it would be difficult to find an Yuer in the vast Kaiyuan River. Therefore, he also wanted to ask the Wood God clan. It would be better if he could find some clues. Including the whereabouts of Big Brother and the others? Everyone? Hearing this, the woman frowned. "Yes, including you." Lin Ling nodded. His words stunned the woman. She pointed at herself and said, "I also have to apologize." "Yes, I know. This may be very embarrassing, but face is not given by others, it is lost by oneself." Lin Ling said indifferently. He could see that although this woman had been helping him, she was actually disdainful of him. Moreover, Lin Ling did not need her help. The woman gritted her teeth and suddenly lowered her head. "Guessed, I was wrong before. I should not have been so arrogant. Your voice is too soft. Apologize sincerely. Speak louder." However, Lin Ling did not buy it at all. "Guessed, I was wrong before. I should not have been so arrogant." The woman's voice became louder. The others gritted their teeth, but they all apologized. Seeing this, Lin Ling finally nodded. Several jade tablets appeared in his hand. He imbued them with his realm essence and several illusions appeared. They were none other than An Yu, his big brother, and the others. "Have you seen these people before?" The people of the Wood God clan looked carefully, but they all shook their heads. "Humph, humans have been wandering in the demon forest all year round. How can we remember so much? However, we can help you ask in the clan," Sheng Na said immediately. However, although she apologized, her attitude was still bad. Lin Ling did not care and looked at the woman. Chapter 3761. Death Chi. Shameless human. Looking at Lin Ling's departing figure, the people of the Wood God clan secretly cursed. Lin Ling stood on the huge leaf, admiring the wonderful scenery of the demon forest. After a while, the leaf began to float upwards and finally stopped in the middle of hundreds of huge ancient trees. These ancient trees were as huge as mountains. Stairs, corridors, and houses were built on the trunks of the trees. Leaves were hung on lanterns. It was magnificent. On top of these ancient trees, there were people going in and out from time to time, looking at Lin Ling curiously. Lin Ling couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. The place where the wood gods lived was really beautiful. Follow me. The woman looked at Lin Ling as if she was looking at a country bumpkin. She was even annoyed that Lin Ling's dirty footsteps had dirted their sacred ground. Great Elder, he must be the human that Her Majesty is looking for. Leave him to me. I'll bring him to see Her Majesty. At this moment, a leaf floated down. A handsome young man stood on it. This young man had long golden hair and pointed ears. He was extraordinarily handsome. Most importantly, not only did he have a short sword, but he also had a long bow on his back. The bow was a rare and exquisite weapon. It was engraved with unknown runes, and a strange force was emitting from it. Lin Ling immediately saw that this person's background wasn't simple. After all, the other men he saw only carried swords. Only this person had both a bow and a sword. All right, I'll leave him to the guardians. The woman immediately said respectfully. The young man nodded and looked at Lin Ling. Lin Ling smiled calmly and walked towards the young man. The young man led him deeper into the forest. I know about your matter. I didn't expect a mere human to be so arrogant. However, you're the person that Her Majesty is looking for, so I'll give you face. I hope you don't cause trouble. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The young man walked in front and said to himself. However, Lin Ling knew that these words were directed at him. It seemed that the wood gods were very hostile to humans. I'll return those words to you. Lin Ling was not someone who would be humiliated by others. The young man didn't get angry. He only sneered and said, "We're here." The two of them had already arrived at the top of a huge tree. Standing here, they could see the entire Mana forest. The wind was blowing, and it was extremely comfortable. And at the top of the ancient tree, there was a magnificent palace. A woman in a long chiffon dress walked over with a smile. This woman was very beautiful, and her body emitted a faint holy radiance. Her gauze dress fluttered in the wind, making her look like an otherworldly fairy. Even Lin Ling was secretly shocked. This was the queen of the wood god? In his opinion, in terms of beauty, Her Majesty the Queen was comparable to Yu and the others. However, this woman had an indescribable temperament. Holy and flawless. Furthermore, her strength was extremely powerful. Lin Ling estimated that she had achieved the martial god realm. Qingmu, you may leave. Moreover, the woman's voice was extremely pleasant. She waved gently at the young man beside Lin Ling. The young man immediately bowed and then left respectfully. The woman looked at Lin Ling and said, "Human, I'm here to ask you for a favor." What surprised Lin Ling was that the soldiers of the wood god were very arrogant. On the contrary, the queen was very easy to talk to, and she gave a good impression. Please speak frankly. Since the other party had given him face, Lin Ling naturally wouldn't make things difficult for her. To be honest, Lin Ling wasn't a difficult person to get along with. I can see that you have the aura of light and it's extremely pure. Therefore, I would like to ask you for a favor. Save this forest. The woman said as her beautiful eyes looked at the endless forest in the distance. The evil aura has begun to invade the forest. I can hear the voices of all living things and I know that destruction is coming. This evil aura is hidden in the trees, and I can only roughly sense it. Moreover, this evil aura is very evil. It has a power that I can't expel. Evil aura? Lin Ling's eyes flashed. His soul force quietly spread out and searched the entire forest. However, the forest was very big, and Lin Ling had to spend a lot of time and soul force. However, Lin Ling's soul force had reached 20,000 levels. Therefore, as he searched, he felt that something was wrong. It was death aura. Although this death aura was constantly moving among the trees and was well restrained, Lin Ling's soul force still caught it. Wherever the death aura passed, the trees would quietly wither, and life force would be absorbed. What surprised Lin Ling was that this death aura seemed to be man-made. It actually had the power to turn life force into death aura. Looking at Lin Ling's bright eyes, the queen knew that she didn't find the wrong person. "Your Majesty, how can you be sure that I can expel the death aura?" Lin Ling smiled and said. "You have the aura of light on your body that can restrain the death aura. Speaking of which, if the Gold God race and Fire God race were here, they would also be able to restrain it. However, our races haven't interacted for many years, so they might not help us." Aura of light? Lin Ling was puzzled, but he instantly guessed that this should be the aura of Buddha from the heavenly dragon's bones. Buddha had a way to restrain ghosts and death, but the degree of restraint was only small. "I also don't know if I can restrain it, but..." Lin Ling smiled and said, but he didn't finish his words. He and the Wood God race had met by chance, so he naturally couldn't help for free. The queen didn't mind and said with a smile, "As long as you help, our Wood God race will give you the water of 10,000 spirits. This is the water with the strongest life force, and it is excellent for plants and humans. The treasure given by the Wood God race would certainly be extraordinary." Therefore, Lin Ling immediately nodded and said, "I agree, I will try my best." "Then, thank you, young hero." The queen was overjoyed. Without further ado, Lin Ling let the golden white evil spirit protect him, and then released his soul power. 20,000 levels of soul power immediately covered the forest like a thin veil, and Lin Ling left a soul mark in each tree. In this way, although Lin Ling's soul power couldn't detect everything in the forest, he could know the changes in each tree. After a while, Lin Ling's eyes finally lit up. In the perception of his soul, a large amount of death chi was lingering under the ground, like worms devouring the trees. Seeing Lin Ling's appearance, the queen was shocked. Although she had the ability to hear all things, she couldn't detect the death chi. She could only know that there was evil chi in the forest from the sounds of the trees. However, Lin Ling found it in a short period of time. One had to know that Lin Ling was only a martial ancestor. "There are quite a lot of them," Lin Ling said lightly. Then, he attacked the death chi, and a large number of evil spirit jellyfish swam out of his chest. Ah! Chapter 3762. Death Chi Devouring. Your Majesty, there is no need to be surprised. This is just one of the attributes that we humans cultivate. Moreover, I have no ill intentions towards this forest. Sending out these jellyfish is to use poison to counter poison. Lin Ling explained as if he knew the queen was surprised. His words caused the queen's eyes to flicker, but in the end, she chose to believe Lin Ling. The moment the ghoul jellyfish appeared, the surrounding area fell under Lin Ling's control. The ghoul jellyfish rushed into the ground and entered the roots of the trees, madly devouring the death chi. Speaking of which, although Lin Ling had the aura of a Buddha god, he couldn't exterminate the death chi unless he shot the great solar calamity destroying bow at the ground. At that time, all the trees would be swept away. On the other hand, the ghoul jellyfish was more agile, swallowing the death chi more smoothly. But soon, the death chi seemed to have a spirit of its own. It condensed and rushed out from the ground. Not good. Lin Ling was shocked. One must know that Lin Ling had also encountered a large amount of death chi at the Kaiyuan River's riverbank. However, the death chi did not resist, it was just a kind of energy of heaven and earth. But the death chi in front of him could condense and fuse together to resist the enemy. Dark clouds began to appear, and wherever they passed, all the creatures in the forest trembled. Moreover, the aura of death was surging towards Lin Ling. In the air, the death chi turned into strange spirits. They were the souls of trees. The queen wanted to attack, but when she saw the souls of trees, her delicate body trembled and her face turned pale. She was the queen of the wood god tribe, all her power came from the forest. Therefore, she couldn't attack the souls of trees. But at the critical moment, an arm grabbed her waist and helped her up. It was Lin Ling. "Your Majesty, everything has a way to restrain it. Obviously, this death chi is the perfect counter for your Majesty, so let me do it." Lin Ling's gaze was still fixed on the front, his face solemn. Being hugged by a human, the queen blushed, but she nodded immediately. Lin Ling did not care about the soft feeling in his hand. He controlled the evil ghost jellyfish and swallowed it. However, there was really too much deathly aura in the sky. It occupied the entire heaven and earth, surging about. It was filled with the souls of trees, as if it wanted to devour Lin Ling and the others. Lin Ling was also instantly certain that this death aura was man-made. Moreover, he felt that it was not death aura, but corpse aura. Moreover, it was very, very heavy. And that was indeed the case. Although the malevolent ghost jellyfish was constantly devouring, it was obviously unable to devour all of them. Seeing this, Lin Ling couldn't care less anymore. Talent fusion, monster transformation. The great solar calamity destroyer bow appeared in his hand, and the aura of a Buddha god burst forth. What shocked Her Majesty the Queen was that the monster Lin Ling had transformed into seemed to be filled with a radiant aura, but it also carried a billowing evil aura. One righteous and one evil aura, they had actually fused together perfectly. This made the Queen curious. Who was this young man? Why was he able to hide so many different types of power in his body? Moreover, there were even powers of opposing attributes. As soon as the great solar calamity destroyer bow appeared, endless Buddhist scriptures floated out. The deathly aura immediately sensed the extraordinariness of the bow and immediately split up, and from all directions, they rushed towards Lin Ling to devour him. How cunning! Lin Ling's eyes flashed. How was this still death aura? This was simply an old monster with spiritual wisdom. Malevolent ghost jellyfish, continue to devour for me. Lin Ling also shouted, and let the malevolent ghost jellyfish devour the scattered deathly aura. Then, all of his soul power returned and transformed into the divine steps. Cardinal Great Brahma Punishment Art. Although Lin Ling's body had various types of powers, in terms of all aspects, only the divine steps could completely restrain him. A world appeared, enveloping the deathly aura, and actually trapped it inside. As for the scattered deathly aura, it was constantly devoured by the malevolent ghost jellyfish. This is the power of a creator god. Behind Lin Ling, Her Majesty the Queen trembled again. As soon as the divine steps appeared, she sensed an incomparably terrifying pressure. This was a power even more terrifying than the power of a creator god. The deathly aura trapped on the divine steps crazily collided with each other, as if they were mice trapped in a cage. However, how could Lin Ling let them escape? The sixth arrow, what is 5? 1. Suffering day and night, leading to calamity. 2. One is full, many are full. 3. Sin weapon trident, eagle snake, wolf dog. 4. Dragon, god, sky, ghost. 5. If one falls into this prison, 10,000 deaths and 10,000 lives. 6. Connected by this, is called seamless. Seamless. The black and white arrow shot out, shooting towards the outside world. Endless Buddha light bloomed, and then, a bright light appeared, and all of the deathly aura was completely destroyed. What a pity! Lin Ling sighed secretly. If this deathly aura was devoured by him, it would definitely allow him to break through the realm. However, this deathly aura was also very difficult to deal with. If the devouring failed, perhaps Lin Ling would be devoured. Therefore, Lin Ling quickly suppressed the reluctance in his heart. Looking at the evil ghost jellyfish, they have completely devoured the deathly aura and are now swimming towards Lin Ling. However, at this moment, a large mass of deathly aura suddenly rushed out from a big tree in front of them. This mass of deathly aura is actually as cunning as a human. It knows how to hide and wait for Lin Ling to relax to launch a sneak attack. How is this still deathly aura? This is simply a vicious creature. At this moment, Lin Ling has finished shooting the arrow and is completely exhausted. Although his boundary origin is still strong, it is obviously not very effective in restraining the deathly aura. Young hero, be careful. Her Majesty the Queen had obviously guessed this point and immediately shouted. Lin Ling's pupils constricted. Just as he was about to ask his bodyguards to protect him, his arms suddenly wriggled, endless black vines appeared, forming a huge talisman seal, and actually surrounded the mass of deathly aura in front of him. This scene caused Lin Ling to be shocked. Little Kunlun? At this moment, Lin Ling did not say much. He controlled the evil ghost jellyfish and crazily devoured the deathly aura. The deathly aura is trapped in the vine forest. Unable to move at all, it actually let out a painful cry, followed by a cry of begging for mercy. However, Lin Ling is ruthless in his heart. He does not care at all. The deathly aura is also gradually devoured clean. At the same time, on the other side of the devil forest, a man sitting cross-legged in the main hall gently opened his eyes, then frowned. Someone broke my deathly aura. He muttered to himself, then issued an order. Go, find that person for me. As for the matter over there, Lin Ling obviously does not know. At this moment, he is looking at little Kunlun with joy, and little Kunlun has also returned to its original size of a vine, also looking at Lin Ling with joy. Lin Ling did not expect that little Kunlun's extreme imprisoning divine rune can actually seal the deathly aura. At present, other than puppets, evil ghosts and other things, the extreme imprisoning divine rune can seal many things, especially when it comes to sealing talents. The effect is even better. And when Lin Ling and little Kunlun are reminiscing about old times, the queen looks as if she was struck by lightning. She stared at Lin Ling in disbelief. Chapter 3763. The Mother of All Trees. Mother of all trees. Finally, she made a sound of excitement. The voice interrupted Lin Ling's reminiscing, and he immediately looked over suspiciously. Tears welled up in the beautiful woman's eyes. Then, she knelt down, revealing her snow-white breasts to Lin Ling. Of course, Lin Ling couldn't care less. Instead, he was shocked. Mother of all trees? Could it be that he was talking about himself? No, he seemed to be talking about little Kunlun. And Her Majesty the Queen was the wood god monarch, yet she was kneeling to little Kunlun. This meant that little Kunlun's background was truly extraordinary. Lin Ling could not help but look at little Kunlun. Unfortunately, little Kunlun shook its little bud adorably. It did not seem to understand either. Looking at the giant ghost beside him, he saw that the giant ghost had returned to its nonchalant attitude. It seemed that he wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. Well, Your Majesty, you had better get up. Lin Ling finally couldn't help but speak up. Yes, emissary. Her Majesty the Queen stood up obediently and looked at Lin Ling with a hint of admiration in her eyes. Speaking of which, it was reasonable for Her Majesty to revere little Kunlun. However, even Lin Ling was in awe. This made Lin Ling confused again. Emissary, please forgive me for my previous offense. Her Majesty the Queen presented the water of 10,000 spirits with both hands, and it was a huge bottle. The 10,000 spirit water was extremely precious. It took 10,000 years for a single drop to form, and it was formed by 10,000 moon nut trees. Furthermore, these moon nut trees required 30,000 years of tree rings to form. And when little Kunlun sensed the 10,000 spirit water, it immediately swung its vines joyfully. This made Lin Ling realize that the water of 10,000 spirits was very suitable for little Kunlun. At that moment, he didn't plan to stay any longer. But before he left, Lin Ling also tried to get some information out of him. Your Majesty, do you know where we humans gather the most? Emissary, the places where you humans gather the most are the ancient Yuan mountain range and the ancient dragon desolate land. Because the ancient demon forest is our territory, humans rarely come here. However, the ancient Yuan mountain range has a large number of royal crystal veins, so humans are greedy and have sent various major forces to occupy the royal crystal veins and continuously mine them. I see. Then, Your Majesty, won't your Wood God clan appear in the ancient Yuan mountains? The Guyuan mountain range is the territory of the Golden God clan. Although we will appear there, we still live more in the forest. In the forest, our strength can be greatly increased, and we don't have to be afraid of foreign invasion. After some conversation, Lin Ling had a feeling that Big Brother, Anuer, and the others should be at the Guyuan mountain range. How's the strength over there? Lin Ling asked again. The human experts are very powerful. There are many half-step martial gods, many academy experts, and even many martial gods, said the queen solemnly. However, she smiled proudly and said, of course, no matter how powerful they are, they won't dare to enter the demonic forest because our Wood God clan controls the entire forest. The demonic forest is very powerful. Even martial gods don't dare to fight against it. It turned out that the Wood God clan had the geographical advantage. However, Lin Ling also felt a little pressured. He suddenly guessed that many of the top experts of the Divine Three Halls of the 36 academies were in the ancient Yuan mountain range. Because there were a lot of royal crystal veins, and the stronger the expert, the more cultivation resources they needed. Therefore, the royal crystal veins were very important to them. If it's those experts with the same strength as last time, with my current strength, I'm afraid I can't fight against them. Lin Ling could not help but think of the group of experts that martial god Wentian had called over, and the pressure in his heart increased immediately. Although the platinum evil spirit had the strength of a martial god, it did not have intelligence. If he was surrounded by experts, the platinum evil spirit would not be able to save him. Moreover, the platinum evil spirit was an external object after all. If he relied too much on external objects, it would not be good for Lin Ling's growth. I wonder if Your Majesty has heard of the dragon tribe? Lin Ling asked again. Speaking of this, the queen's face was filled with reverence. She said solemnly, the dragon tribe has not been seen for many years. It is said that they are on the other side of the river, fighting with the evil spirits and guarding the Kaiyuan River. In our Wood God clan, only the first 10 generations of the queen have come into contact with the dragon tribe. After the 10th generation, the dragon tribe has never been seen again. Hearing this, Lin Ling could not help but sigh. It seemed that the task of delivering the letter was both simple and difficult. Without further ado, Lin Ling did not ask any more questions. He bid farewell and left. Messenger, you're leaving. The queen immediately showed a reluctant look, giving off a lovely and touching aura. She was originally beautiful and holy. Now that she showed such a look, Lin Ling's heart skipped a beat. If it was another man, he would have already hugged the beauty in his arms. Seeing that Lin Ling was stunned, the queen pondered for a moment and suddenly said, as long as you stay in the Wood God clan, I am willing to give up everything. The entire Wood God clan will belong to you. This sentence was obviously hinting at something. This meant that Lin Ling could be the king of the Wood God clan. He could have anyone accompany him tonight, including the queen. Lin Ling could not help but smile bitterly, Your Majesty, don't tempt me. If you continue to say this, I might really stay. Then stay. The queen was instantly ecstatic. That was because the small Kunlun that Lin Ling brought along was the most ancient sacred object of the Wood God clan. It could even be called the first sacred emperor. How could she bear to let Lin Ling leave? Lin Ling's cultivation realm was not high, but he had all kinds of powers. He was simply like the Son of God. Therefore, if Lin Ling could stay, the Wood God clan would definitely be able to walk towards glory. Thank you for your kindness, Your Majesty. Unfortunately, I'm here to find someone. My lost wife. I want to bring her home. Lin Ling smiled, and his face showed determination. It was the kind of determination that would not give up until all hope was gone. The queen was stunned. She looked deeply at Lin Ling and finally sighed softly. She knew that she could not change Lin Ling's mind. She also knew that this man seemed to be moved by everything in the Wood God clan. In fact, that was only on the surface. This mysterious man had his own principles. I hope that after Your Excellency Lin Ling completes your mission, you can come visit the Wood God clan. The Wood God clan will always welcome you. You will also be our God's messenger forever. The queen stretched out her fair little hand. Lin Ling immediately stretched out his hand and gently shook it. Then, he left suavely. In his palm, the fragrance of a beauty lingered. Looking at the free and easy young man, the queen smiled helplessly. She naturally knew her charm. There were very few men in this world who could not be attracted to her. After leaving the palace, Lin Ling also came to the ancient tree. Who allowed you to come down? At this time, the blonde youth suddenly walked over and looked at Lin Ling with dignity. Did Her Majesty order you to come down? Chapter 3764. Stone Castle. Seeing this, Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh out loud. Do I have to get Her Majesty's permission to go anywhere? How dare you? Looks like you snuck out. How dare you be so rude to our queen? All the members of the Wood God clan were enraged. Unfortunately, Lin Ling smiled disdainfully and strode away. Try taking another step. The crowd finally couldn't bear it any longer. This young man had repeatedly provoked his pride. The golden-haired youth waved his right hand, and a bow appeared in his hand. He shot an arrow, which landed in front of Lin Ling. The next arrow won't just hit the ground. Clearly, this was a threat. Lin Ling looked down at the arrow at his feet and shook his head. A wine flask appeared in his hand. After taking a big gulp, he kicked the arrow away and strode forward again. If you shoot another arrow, you will become the Wood God clan's eternal sinner. A cold voice came out of Lin Ling's mouth. Everyone from the Wood God clan was stunned. Kicking away their arrows was tantamount to provoking the wood gods. Moreover, this guy even drank and left as if he didn't see anything. His heroic spirit was unparalleled. This was looking down on the Wood God clan and looking down on them. In truth, if it weren't for Her Majesty the Queen's orders, they would have already taught Lin Ling a lesson. But now, Her Majesty the Queen hadn't issued an order for Lin Ling to leave. However, Lin Ling actually treated the noble Wood God race as his own home. He came and went as he pleased. Lowly human, you will regret this. This time, even Shengna raised her bow. Furthermore, everyone raised their bows and arrows. Tens of thousands of arrows were fired at the same time. However, Lin Ling continued to move forward with his bodyguards, carefree and unrestrained. Right at this moment, a dignified voice finally resounded. Whoever dares to shoot an arrow will be condemned by the Wood God clan. An eternal sinner. Everyone's hearts exploded as this majestic voice reverberated in their minds. The next moment, everyone raised their heads in disbelief. This was because their beautiful queen had appeared in the sky. She looked holy and beautiful, but her might was unparalleled. Your Majesty. Next, everyone knelt down. Agudang, that arrow made me very disappointed in you. It looks like your position as the Wood God's guardian will have to be changed. The queen did not look at the crowd. Instead, she looked at the carefree man in the distance. As for the golden-haired young man, his entire body trembled as he looked up in disbelief. He was the protector of the wood gods. He had supreme authority and was responsible for the safety of the entire wood god clan. But now, Her Majesty the Queen seemed to want to dismiss him. "Your Majesty," the golden-haired young man asked in disbelief. "It's a good thing you didn't shoot the second one. Otherwise, you'd definitely be a sinner. Shengna, you actually shot an arrow at him and called him a despicable human. Do you know that? He is more arrogant than you. Your body and your heart actually belong to him. To be able to serve him is the greatest blessing of your life." "What?" Shengna's delicate body trembled. Generally speaking, there was only one possibility for a woman of the wood god clan to give up her body and heart. The other party must be a god. "I'm here to send him off." While everyone was shocked, the queen looked into the distance and said in awe. This sentence also represented Lin Ling's status in the wood god clan. For the queen to personally send him off, he must be a god. Everyone's hearts could not calm down for a long time. Rumbles continued in their hearts. However, Lin Ling had already left the wood god clan's trump card. In front of him, the ancient trees still towered into the sky, but there was also a magnificent mountain. Moreover, a city was built against the mountain. It was different from the usual cities. This city was made of huge rocks, but it was extremely exquisite. This showed how superb the craftsmanship was. This was because Lin Ling could also see that these rocks were called Yang speech rocks. These rocks were extremely huge and were a whole. Each piece was as big as a mountain and incomparably hard. To carve mountain-like rocks into stone sculptures and use them to build a city, it would take at least 1,000 years. That's the Stone God clan. At this time, the giant ghost next to him said, "Stone God?" Lin Ling couldn't help but remember that when he was in the rainforest sacred land, he had also met a guy called Stone God. Among the three mysterious of the human world, that Stone God was the ancestor of one of the three ancient clans of Xianhuang Daiyu. Of course, compared to the Stone God clan, that Stone God paled in comparison. For example, the Stone God in the rainforest sacred land was actually a small rock, while the Stone God clan here was a huge rock. The Stone God clan is honest and kind by nature. They have the best temperament among all the clans. They don't have the pride of the Wood God clan and are not so hostile to humans. In particular, the Stone God clan loves wine. If you have wine, the Stone God clan will treat you as a friend. The giant ghost said, of course, this was in the past. I don't know if they are still hospitable now, but I guess there shouldn't be many changes. With this thought, Lin Ling quickened his pace and walked towards the stone city. Entering the city, there was no obstruction. Lin Ling even saw a lot of humans. As for the Stone God clan, what made Lin Ling surprised was that they were actually dwarves. They were extremely sturdy and had thick beards. They held hammers or axes and ran like the wind. Even after Lin Ling entered the city, the Stone God clan people immediately greeted him. Lin Ling smiled and threw out a jug of wine. Chapter 3765. Barbecue. Alright, I'll take good care of him. Lin Ling poured a glass of wine for Gu Yadong. Gu Yadong was so happy that he clapped his hands. After drinking a big mouthful, he suddenly said, "What? You said you're from the east? You really know how to joke, that's the territory of the wood god." "I'm not joking, I really came from there." "Hee, the beauties of the wood god are pretty, right? Did they take the initiative to offer themselves?" "They did, but I was in a hurry, so I didn't ask for those beauties." "Oh right, the queen of the wood god race also wanted to offer herself, but I didn't ask for it either." Lin Ling drank a mouthful of wine and laughed. Everyone from the stone god race was stunned, then they burst into laughter. "Young man, I like you, you're so good at bragging," Gu Yadong almost believed you. Their words made Lin Ling depressed, he really wasn't bragging. However, Lin Ling didn't explain, as long as they're happy. After drinking with the guys from the stone god race for an entire afternoon, Lin Ling decided to leave. Among the group of stone god race, only Gu Yadong was not guilty. He said to Lin Ling in surprise, "Young man, I didn't expect you to be so good at drinking. Next time you come here, you must find me, I'll drink with you for 3 days and 3 nights. All right." Lin Ling patted Gu Yadong's shoulder and said. He often drinks, so his alcohol tolerance naturally can't be that low. Next, he and Gu Yadong walked along the street, and at this time, the people around them all ran in the same direction. This made Lin Ling curious. "Gu Yadong, what happened?" "Hee, the annual refining competition has begun, let's go, I'll take you to have a look." The stone god race and the dwarf race in Lin Ling's imagination are very similar. Apart from building construction, they're also good at forging weapons. Their skills are even more powerful than Miao Shen's true inheritance. This also piqued Lin Ling's interest. He wanted to learn the skills of the Stone God clan. Who knew that just by asking, Gu Yadong would agree. He took out a pile of books from God knows where. It could be called a house full of books. "Take it, go and learn." Gu Yadong threw the books to Lin Ling, at the same time, said Lin Ling, "Stone God race people, we learn to forge from childhood. Every family has these books, but you humans may not be able to learn them." Hearing this, Lin Ling didn't hesitate and collected all the books. His heart felt warm. He and Gu Yadong had only met once, but they felt like old friends at first sight. This made Lin Ling treat the Stone God clan as friends. Looking it. No wonder, even though they casually gave out the books, ordinary people couldn't learn them. Lin Ling watched quietly, reaping great benefits in an instant. After that, the forging competition began to announce the results one by one. What shocked Lin Ling was that the weakest here was a 9th grade divine weapon. There were even many innate divine weapons. Once an innate divine weapon was out, it would immediately be surrounded by divine power, which meant that this divine weapon had been recognized by the universal laws. And the more divine power, the higher the grade of the divine weapon. Lin Ling's eyes were undoubtedly opened. The final champion also received cheers and blessings from the audience. A stone god race person pushed out a large black rock and then knelt down. From the looks of it, the usually careless stone god race person was extremely afraid when facing the black rock. "That's Devour, brother Lin Ling, quickly kneel down." The surrounding stone gods also knelt down. Gu Yadong also asked Lin Ling to kneel down, and Lin Ling followed suit and pretended to kneel down. But what surprised him was that the black rock was very familiar. Wasn't that thing the realm-swallowing beast? Lin Ling was shocked and immediately asked, "Gu Yadong, what is that scary thing?" "It's Devour, the nemesis of our stone god race. It specializes in swallowing stones, ores, and stone gods, so it's also our totem," Gu Yadong said solemnly. The stone god race feared nothing but the realm-swallowing beast that could swallow stones. Lin Ling couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. He had the body of the realm-swallowing beast and had become chaotic. If he used it now, would these guys kneel down and worship him? Then, he thought of the wood god race and was speechless. In the wood god race, he was the messenger of the gods. In the stone god race, he was the totem. This dramatic scene made people feel that it was extremely unreal. Shaking his head, Lin Ling didn't take it to heart because he was just passing by. Then, Lin Ling and Gu Yadong said goodbye and left. The stone god race had left a good impression on Lin Ling. If he wasn't in a hurry to find someone, he might have stayed for a few more days. In the era of the gods, the stone god race once encountered chaos. They used all kinds of methods, but countless people were devoured by chaos. In the end, they were completely afraid and worshipped chaos from then on. This made the chaos stop devouring them. This habit was left behind from that time. After leaving the stone city, the giant ghost said, in fact, they don't know that the reason why chaos doesn't devour stones and the stone god race is because they are too disgusting. Hearing this, Lin Ling couldn't help but laugh. With one big and one small ghost, Lin Ling continued his journey. After 3 days, Lin Ling looked at the map and realized that he was already halfway through the Origin Demon Forest. He had to admit that the Origin Demon Mountain Range was really big. However, the demonic beasts in the Origin Demon Mountain Range weren't scary. Instead, it was a natural stronghold. From time to time, there would be a thunderstorm, and its power was comparable to Lin Ling's tribulation. This was also the reason why no one dared to fly in the sky. Moreover, this kind of thunderstorm appeared without warning. Especially when they reached the center of the Origin Demon Forest, the thunderstorm became more frequent. The ancient forest was filled with lightning snakes, and it was extremely terrifying. Lin Ling was afraid that the golden white evil ghost could attract lightning. Therefore, whenever there was a thunderstorm, he would dig a big hole and hide with the golden white evil ghost. There were even a few times when the thunderstorm hit not far from the hole, which gave Lin Ling a fright. Such a lonely experience lasted for half a month. However, Lin Ling enjoyed it. Occasionally, he would hunt some wild animals and tease little Kunlun and the giant ghost. His days were happy. On this day, Lin Ling arrived at a new area. The sky here was fiery red. The giant ghost reminded him that he had arrived at the territory of the fire god race. Regarding this, Lin Ling didn't mind. He ate and drank. The fire was raised and he continued to roast meat. During this time, even the giant ghost had fallen in love with Lin Ling's roasted meat. Of course, there was also the golden white evil ghost. This glutton simply ate everything. In just a short while, the aroma of meat wafted out. A rhinoceros the size of a calf was roasted by Lin Ling. At the side, the two ghosts, one big and one small, were drooling. Chapter 3766. It was better than a piece of barbecued meat. Sigh, you guys have all become foodies. Seeing this, Lin Ling shook his head helplessly. However, he couldn't blame anyone else. He was the one who had raised her. It smells so good. However, just as Lin Ling was about to take action, flames soared to the sky in front of him. Soon after, he saw a large number of burly men in armor rushing over, surrounding Lin Ling so tightly that not even a drop of water could escape. These people were somewhat similar to humans, but they had a head full of fiery red hair that seemed to be burning. Moreover, one could see streaks of fire between their joints. It was extremely strange. However, Lin Ling knew that these people should be from the fire god race. As for Lin Ling, he had grown up playing with fire. However, he discovered that the spacetime divine steel seemed a little dim in front of these people. The fire god tribe was indeed quite amazing. It was said that they possessed the true bloodline of the fire god. Human? Everyone looked at Lin Ling in surprise. Who cares if he's a human or a dragon? On the contrary, this guy's roasted meat is really good. Brat, immediately roast 281 rhinos for us. We want to eat. Someone laughed loudly, saliva dripping from his mouth. I forgot to tell you, my name is Fire Fantasy. While drooling, the burly man did not forget to introduce himself. On the ground, Lin Ling looked up and immediately took out a jug of wine to drink. This made the group of fire gods jealous. However, they discovered that Lin Ling was actually ignoring them. Not only was he drinking, he was even chatting with a vine and a fist-sized thing. This guy must be crazy. Human, don't try to infuriate our fire god race because once we burn, even we are afraid of ourselves. Everyone sneered. If it wasn't for the fact that this guy was good at roasting meat, they would have already burned him to death. However, it had to be said that although humans were despicable, shameless, and greedy, when it came to food, they really couldn't compare. At this moment, Lin Ling finally spoke. He smiled and said, "It's not that I don't want to cook for you. It's just that I have too many foodies around me. We can't even fill our own stomachs, let alone feed you. Hee, you won't cry until you see the coffin. Do you think you have any other choice?" The man called Huahuan chuckled, and with a flick of his finger, rumble. A stream of flames shot out from his finger, and all the trees before him were incinerated into ash. Even a small mountain was melted into water. The fire god tribe was indeed an expert at playing with fire. The temperature of this flame had already surpassed ordinary flames. Did you see that? Do you want to grill meat for us? Or do you want to be roasted by us? Huahuan said proudly after Xiao Xiao attacked. This move of his was clearly intended to intimidate Lin Ling and make Lin Ling obediently roast the meat. As for the surrounding fire gods, they immediately began to flatter him. Some even began to clap their hands. However, Lin Ling shook his head and continued eating the barbecued meat. It was undeniable that when it came to playing with fire, Lin Ling was ashamed of his inferiority. However, among all the major techniques that Lin Ling currently possessed, the way of fire was the weakest. Putting everything else aside, Lin Ling dared to use his divine demon body to resist the flames released by Huahuan, and he was unscathed. The strongest among this group of people was only at the late-stage martial ancestor realm. Such strength was not enough to shake Lin Ling. Seeing that Lin Ling was still eating and shaking his head, the people of the fire god tribe were enraged. Flames of various colors appeared in their palms, and they wanted to teach Lin Ling a lesson. However, at this moment, Lin Ling raised his eyebrows. Swoosh! 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 Countless swords shot out. It was the true inheritance dark sword. They flew past the people of the fire god tribe and slashed forward. Rumble! The ancient trees in front were all cut down by the sword. This sword directly frightened the people of the fire god tribe. Speaking of which, this guy is still eating barbecued meat and controlling the sword at the same time. Humans have such means. However, after Lin Ling and Xiao Xiao displayed their strength, little Kunlun also made its move. There was a rumbling sound, and in the blink of an eye, an endless vine forest appeared. It also strangled the massive trees nearby. In a breath's time, there were no more trees in a radius of 1,000 miles. Ah! Huahuan opened his mouth wide. Are my eyes playing tricks on me? It was clearly a vine as thick as a finger, but it instantly turned into a forest. Little Kunlun returned to normal and was also eating barbecued meat. However, the golden white evil spirit also moved. It rushed into the sky and crashed into a mountain range in the distance like a cannonball. Rumble! The towering mountain range directly collapsed. Then, the golden white evil spirit flew back. Without saying a word, it also squatted down to eat barbecued meat. Oh, 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 oh. Big brother, it exploded the mountain. That is the famous Dead Eagle Mountain Range. Beside Huahuan, the people of the fire god tribe stuttered. They wanted to show their strength and let Lin Ling know who he had offended. In the end, Lin Ling also showed his strength. Each one was more terrifying than the other. It could be said that they could destroy the world. However, the surprise did not end there. This time, even Lin Ling was surprised. That was because the giant ghost also made a move. Speaking of which, this guy seemed to be unwilling to let his barbecued meat be stolen, so it also wanted to show its strength. It flew into the sky, and then, its evil aura erupted. The world changed, and all the plants trembled. Even the endless thunderstorm in the sky was attracted by the giant ghost, forming a thunderstorm explosion. In the sky, a dazzling sun appeared. No, it was not a sun, but a ball of lightning. Everyone was petrified, and their jaws dropped to the ground. Even Lin Ling's mouth was wide open. That was because this was the first time he saw the giant ghost make a move. The evil aura hidden in this guy's body was so dense. Moreover, this guy rushed into the sky with a dense evil aura. Wasn't that attracting lightning? However, the thunder in the sky quickly disappeared. Then, a fist-sized little ghost flew back and appeared beside Lin Ling as if nothing had happened. It also started eating barbecued meat. Lin Ling was speechless. It turned out that this guy was unwilling to let his barbecued meat be stolen. Speaking of which, the giant ghost did not help him when he was in danger several times. Instead, now that the barbecued meat was threatened, it went to attract lightning like a madman. Could it be that he was inferior to a piece of barbecued meat? Shaking his head, Lin Ling ate the barbecued meat and said, "Now, do you still want to eat barbecued meat?" Plop. "Honorable Lord, we were blind. Please don't kill us." Huan and the rest did not dare to think too much and knelt down one after another. Only now did they realize that this group of guys was more terrifying than the previous one. The vines, the tall bodyguards, and the lifeless ghost. Get up. If you want to eat barbecued meat, go hunt yourselves. If you're not in a hurry, I might be able to help you barbecued meat. Lin Ling was just passing by and was too lazy to do anything, so he said lightly, "Thank you for not killing us, my lord." Everyone from the fire god tribe stood up excitedly. Huan was also a foodie. He was not afraid of Lin Ling and instead asked his subordinates to hunt demons. "My lord, you must barbecue it until it's delicious." Then, he approached Lin Ling and flattered him with a smile. Lin Ling could not help but roll his eyes. Just as he was about to say something, something strange happened. In the distance, the billowing aura of death surged over like a tide. Evil spirit, not good, the evil spirit is here. Chapter 3767. Expert. Evil spirit. Oh no! Evil spirit is here. Evil spirit. When Huan saw the death chi, his expression changed drastically. He seemed to be familiar with the death chi. Lin Ling frowned. He had seen such a huge amount of death chi in the Wood God clan. He did not expect to see it here again. In the end, who was controlling the death aura? Hurry up and leave. Evil spirit will not kill us. But if we meet you, we can't say for sure. At this time, Huan said to Lin Ling anxiously. To Lin Ling's surprise, this man from the Fire God clan was loyal to his friends. Do you know them? Lin Ling quickly asked. Yes, they are humans. Huan looked even more anxious. However, his words made Lin Ling's expression change. Evil spirit is a human? Fire God clan. At this moment, a cold and indifferent voice came from the front. Several figures stepped on billowing death aura and coldly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. It's too late. When Huan saw this, he sighed. Lin Ling, on the other hand, sized up these people and found that they were all very young. There were 6 of them. Although they were stepping on death aura, there was no death aura on their bodies. Most importantly, they were wearing the robes of the academy and were all different. They should be from different academies. Of course, their strength was not weak. The most powerful one was a half-step to martial god. There were 2 of them and the rest were at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Half-step to martial god realm? There was no half-step to martial god realm expert in Snow Wind Academy's Shensan Hall. You slaves, who allowed you to appear here? Are you going to look for the Stone God clan? The people stopped and a young man with long white hair said flatly. At the same time, he looked at Lin Ling. We dare not, we dare not. The people from the Fire God clan knelt down and trembled. They seemed to be afraid of them. I have said that leaving the clan area means death. It's too late for you to kneel down now. One of them sneered and opened his mouth. His fangs flashed as he turned into a shadow and pounced on Huohuan. This caused Huohuan's body to tremble even more. He seemed to know what was about to happen. However, Lin Ling's eyes flashed. This person's innate talent was also ghost type. Truthfully speaking, no matter if it was ghost energy, death energy, evil energy, and so on and so forth, all of them were a type of nether energy, and all of these energies were more or less related to the netherworld. Zombies? Lin Ling said in his heart. He had practiced martial arts for many years and it was not that he had never seen a zombie before. However, a zombie's talent? This was rather rare. Jiangchen's son. At this moment, the giant ghost beside him said in a low voice. Jiangchen was one of the overlords of the Age of Gods. It was immortal and indestructible, renowned for its speed and violence, and loved to devour human blood. Lin Ling nodded and said in a low voice, "Look over here." As soon as he finished speaking, the person who attacked appeared in front of Huohuan. He had already grabbed Huohuan's neck and was about to bite down with his sharp teeth. However, when he heard Lin Ling's words, he could not help but look up, his eyes filled with disdain. It had to be said that this person was indeed arrogant. He was killing Huohuan right beside Lin Ling, ignoring him and sucking his blood. How could Lin Ling stand by and watch? However, when he turned to look at Lin Ling, the eye of chaos immediately intimidated him. Of course, the effect was not great. He was only stunned for less than a breath. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, at this moment, the 18 true dark swords shot out, each sword containing 30% of the ancestral power. They all landed on the young man's back. However, the terrifying thing was that the young man smiled and ignored the swords behind him. He continued to bite Huohuan's neck. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. It had been a long time since he had seen a martial artist with such a powerful physical body. However, he wanted to suck blood in front of Lin Ling. Bang! Lin Ling punched out and his arm quietly turned into a dragon's claw. The young man's head immediately exploded like a watermelon. He wanted to suck blood, but he failed in the end. However, the young man's talent was amazing. He did not die after his head exploded. He frantically retreated and his head grew back again. Of course, after his head exploded, he was slightly injured and his face was pale. He's not dead? Lin Ling could not help but sigh. These experts were very powerful. He could clearly sense that the young man was at the peak of the martial ancestor realm, but his talent was at the 7th grade. 7th rank, in the Snow Wind Academy, it was a unique existence. However, compared to Lin Ling, the other young men were even more surprised. The young man who had the gift of zombies was called Shui Senator. He was ranked 423rd on the Divine Stairway. He was immortal and indestructible. He was immune to wind, lightning, and fire. However, the strange man in front of them had been able to injure him. Most importantly, they could sense that the young man was only at the initial stage of the martial ancestor realm. This meant that the young man's talent might be above a 7th grade talent. Tell me your name. Yes. The young man called Shuesen said indifferently, I don't kill nameless people. Why do you need to know so much when you're about to die? Lin Ling shook his head. He could see that these people wanted to kill him. In that case, Lin Ling did not need to show any mercy. Ha ha ha, I have to say that you're quite powerful, but that's all. Your blood should be delicious. Xiaofan was so angry that he laughed. His body moved and he appeared in front of Lin Ling at the speed of 1,000 boundaries realm. His speed was terrifying. Even Lin Ling's speed was only at the speed of 1,000 boundaries realm when he did not use the fusion talent. The others sneered. In terms of speed, Xiaofan was the best among them. That young man was doomed. Xiaofan opened his mouth and bit down on Lin Ling's neck. He started to absorb everything about Lin Ling. Soon, his face changed. He could not absorb anything. It was as if there was nothing in Lin Ling's body. He could not even sense flesh, let alone blood. The only thing he felt was a strange feeling. It was like mud. He did not know that he was biting a realm-devouring beast. Swoosh! At that moment, a sword radiance slashed from below. Lin Ling had already held the tyrannical song sword in his hand. He had merged his 6 dantians and 80% of his progenitor's force. Blood spurted out. The young man called Xiaofan was immediately cut in half. His upper body fell to the ground. He pointed at Lin Ling and his eyes were filled with disbelief. However, with a thought from Lin Ling, the true inheritance dark sword flew out and stabbed the young man into the ground. Then, the evil ghost jellyfish started to devour him. This happened very quickly. The experts in the distance were still laughing. However, their smiles suddenly froze and their eyes widened. Defeated. Xiaofan had also been defeated. Although Xiaofan was not their strongest, his strength was not to be underestimated. However, he had been defeated by an unfamiliar young man. Bang! It was not until Xiaofan had turned into a dried corpse that they realized what had happened. Ironically, Xiaofan had been sucking blood his entire life. In the end, he was turned into a dried corpse. It was a worthy death. What a strange method. He's not afraid of Xiaofan's blood sucking. Following that, a few people, a martial god realm was a martial god realm cultivator, Qin Nan. They obviously didn't dare show off when facing a martial god realm expert. But the golden white martial god T, the evil be a martial god Stion god a be a god gods a god a S-A-T art T say T. 2 Tiant T god this. These experts were in a difficult position. Keep in mind that they were all ranked after the 420th place on the heavenly stairway. One of them was even ranked 403rd. Their strength was monstrous. To be recorded on the heavenly stairway of the divine ranking, one had to meet the age limit, be from the various academies, or be ranked below the deity realm. Although it seemed difficult, many people had met the requirements. However, most of them could not be listed on the divine ranking. Now, the martial god realm experts were asking them to call him grandpa. They couldn't let go of their pride and dignity. The people of the fire god tribe were dumbfounded. They knew how arrogant the martial god realm cultivators were. Grandpa. However, someone shouted. It was a young man at the peak of the martial ancestor realm. Speaking of which, the young man was burly and looked old. It was hilarious for him to call the martial god realm cultivator grandpa. However, after he shouted, the other 2 martial ancestor realm experts shouted too, as if they were afraid of the golden white evil spirit. Their voices were filled with respect. They almost knelt down and poured tea for the martial god realm cultivator. The half-step to martial god realm cultivator who had lost his arm gritted his teeth. He could not swallow his pride. That was because it had always been others who called him grandpa. However, when he thought of the previous scene, he shuddered. Grandpa. He lowered his head and shouted too. Lin Ling was shocked. The martial ancestor realm experts were shocked. They did not expect the martial god realm cultivators to be so straightforward. You have been deceived. Although that thing is at the martial god realm, it is a puppet. A puppet without consciousness. However, when it was the last person's turn, the martial ancestor realm expert called Tian Jing shouted. What? A puppet? When the martial ancestor realm expert finished speaking, everyone was shocked. Although a martial god realm puppet was not to be underestimated, it was no match for a martial god realm expert. This meant that if they were careful, they might not be afraid of the puppet at all. After all, they were on par with the Emperor of Assassins. Although it was difficult for them to defeat the puppet, it was also difficult for the puppet to kill them. It was just an accident that his arm was eaten. You lied to us? At the thought of this, everyone's eyes turned red. They felt as if Lin Ling had raped their wives. It was obvious that calling him grandpa was a disgrace in their lives. It had almost become an inner demon. Lin Ling was stunned. He had lied to them. From the beginning to the end, he didn't say anything. They were the ones who surrendered first. However, it was obvious that he did not need to explain anything to these idiots. Who asked you to be so stupid? Lin Ling said with a shrug. You are courting death. You are the first person who has successfully deceived me since I was young. This is so infuriating. You will definitely die. The martial ancestor realm experts were furious. Lin Ling was speechless. The first person who had successfully deceived them? He had not done anything, okay? Moreover, with these people's intelligence, he believed that they had been deceived many times. Of course, the leading young man was very calm. He was a strong opponent. I will suppress the martial god realm puppet. You guys kill him. As expected, the leading young man, Tian Jing, said coldly. Then, he immediately attacked. His long hair fluttered like flames. Wisps of green flames with righteous and evil qi enveloped the golden-white evil spirit. The Buddha qi in the green flames was obviously harmful to the golden-white evil spirit. The golden-white evil spirit's body began to merge. The remaining 4 people unleashed their full strength and attacked Lin Ling. Kunlun. Seeing this, the vines on Lin Ling's arm made a sound as if they were about to attack. However, Lin Ling immediately assessed the situation and knew that it was not wise to fight. Putting everything else aside, Lin Ling would need to use all his strength to kill the half-step martial god. During the process, the other 3 would not stand by and watch. Let's go. Chapter 3769. The Flame of the Human Sovereign. As for the 4 people who attacked, they bombarded the ground with earth-shattering force. The forest seemed to have been destroyed. Then, they sensed their surroundings and were instantly enraged. That cunning brat actually escaped. Chase him. We can't let him escape. The angry people couldn't care less as they chased after Lin Ling crazily. As for Hua Huan and the others, they were all sent flying by the explosion. They hid far away in the forest, their mouths trembling as they fled. In the open space, only Heavenly Crystal was battling the Platinum Evil Spirit. However, Lin Ling wasn't worried about the Platinum Evil Spirit because he knew that it wouldn't die so easily. Brat, if you have the skill, don't run. Which academy are you from? You're so cunning. A voice came from behind. The 4 of them were chasing after him. However, their speed was slightly slower than Lin Ling's. Even the strongest among them couldn't surpass the speed of 1,000 worlds. This also made Lin Ling laugh. He stopped in his tracks and quietly gave the 4 people behind him the middle finger. Fuck. As soon as that provocative action was made, everyone was even more furious. He had lied to them and then slipped away. Now, he was giving them the middle finger? However, anger was anger. When they chased with all their might, they couldn't catch up to Lin Ling at all. On the other hand, Lin Ling advanced with ease. Occasionally, he would use the space-time divine steel, the demonic jellyfish, and the Eye of Chaos to launch sneak attacks. However, it was only a harassment effect, not a fatal one. This meant that in the face of the stronger experts of the third hall, these methods were slowly being eliminated. Of course, the malevolent ghost jellyfish was not eliminated. It was just that its talent was known for its ghost Dao, and it was not good at fighting force with force. Moreover, although the malevolent ghost jellyfish's attacks were not fatal, the 4 people at the back were still bitten from time to time. They were so angry that they cursed their parents. He's only in the early stage of the martial progenitor realm. He's only able to achieve such speed by burning his life force using a secret technique. Keep chasing, he won't last long. While they were enraged, Heavenly Crystal's voice floated over and boosted their confidence. Everything was just as Lin Ling had guessed. Heaven Crystal was the most difficult to deal with. Oh, my ear, these jellyfish have bitten off my ear. Damn it. Brat, if you have the ability, fight me head-on. What kind of man are you to run away from? Although the 4 people chasing after Lin Ming were much more confident, they were still ambushed by the evil ghost jellyfish. Moreover, as they chased after him, they discovered that not only was Lin Ling not tired, but he was becoming more and more spirited. It didn't seem like he was burning his life force at all. In front of him, Lin Ling laughed. What kind of man was he? He shook his head mockingly. My realm is lower than any of you, and I'm only one person, while there are 5 of you. You tell me, who isn't a man? His words had undoubtedly infuriated those people out of humiliation and anger. Lin Ling, there's something following you. However, just as Lin Ling was about to destroy them one by one, the giant ghost quietly warned him. Lin Ling's complexion changed. He hurriedly went to investigate. His soul force also noticed that there was a wisp of death energy following him. This strand of death chi definitely did not belong to those 5 people. This meant that there were other experts in the vicinity. Let's get out of here. Following this, Lin Ling did not plan to stay here any longer. He erupted with all his strength and quickly passed through the forest. Not long after, an ancient ruin suddenly appeared in front of him. He saw a large number of fire god clansmen digging at the ground. The flames in their hands were extraordinary and could actually continue to corrode the earth. And under the ground, a wisp of ancient aura pervaded the air. This aura was dignified, like the might of the heavens. But what was surprising was that this aura did not have any sense of heat, as if it had no power at all. Lin Ling, there's something extraordinary hidden under the ground. At this time, the giant ghost said. Hearing this, Lin Ling quietly released his soul force. Suddenly, under the ancient ruin, he noticed a huge wisp of golden light. That wisp of golden light was as large as the universe. After Lin Ling's soul force poured in, it actually disappeared. What is this? Lin Ling could not help but ask in surprise. The flame of the human king. Beside him, the giant ghost said faintly, the first wisp of flame in the universe's void. You should have heard of a story. In a distant era, humans did not have any flames. A saint stole the first wisp of flame in order to give birth to human civilization. This became the flame of the human king, and the person who stole the flame became the human king. Why is the flame of the human king here? Could it be? This flame is the totem of the fire god clan? Lin Ling asked again. Yes, and under the ground, there is a wisp of death aura quietly absorbing the flame of the human king. The giant ghost said again. Although Lin Ling's soul force was powerful, after entering the ground, his soul force was also absorbed by the flame of the human king. Therefore, he could not detect the changes underground. But death aura? Lin Ling instantly guessed something. This group of academy experts gathered here. Could it be that they were stealing the human king's flame? Thinking of the wood god clan's death aura, Lin Ling also guessed that someone was making a move against these ancient clans. And to be so bold, those fellows' strength was absolutely extraordinary. Giant Ghost, what do we do now? Lin Ling hurriedly asked. He had no choice but to ask the Giant Ghost about this era of gods. Hasn't your spacetime divine steel reached its limit? It just so happens that you can swallow this flame. If you can refine it, that would be even better. If you can't, then you can still use it as a treasure. That works? Won't it be very dangerous? Of course it's dangerous because the human king's flame has spiritual intelligence. However, it has already been asleep for a very, very long time. If you steal a bit of the flame, it won't be able to detect it. Unless you cause a huge fluctuation, and at that time, I'm afraid the world will collapse. Look at the death aura underground. Aren't they also carefully stealing it? Alright, then how should I steal it next? Lin Ling's interest was immediately aroused. The human king's flame is very sensitive, but it trusts the fire god clan very much. This is also the reason why the human king's flame is still asleep even though the fire god clan's people are digging underground. Presumably, the owner of the death aura forced the fire god clan to do so. Therefore, you only need to release the evil ghost jellyfish. I will teach you a set of flame sealing techniques and use the evil ghost jellyfish to steal the flame. But remember, the human king's flame is no small matter. After stealing it, don't refine it immediately. Alright. Lin Ling immediately nodded, the anticipation in his heart growing stronger. After little Kunlun learned of Lin Ling's thoughts, its vine swam out and dug a big hole in the ground, carrying Lin Ling into the underground. Moreover, it knew that when Lin Ling was stealing the flame, he couldn't be disturbed. Therefore, it also used the vine forest to seal the underground area. If someone dived into the underground, they would definitely discover that the underground area had become a primeval forest. Chapter 3770. The Great Calamity had arrived. What a powerful death aura. If not for the giant ghost's reminder, I wouldn't have noticed it. The owner of this death aura must be extremely powerful. Lin Ling, that's corpse aura. The owner must be a 10,000-year-old corpse. It's really a corpse. Yes. After a conversation, Lin Ling's soul force quietly spread out. He then discovered that the death aura had also swam in through the hole. It thought that Lin Ling hadn't noticed it, but Lin Ling had been waiting for a long time. Therefore, just as it entered the ground, it immediately discovered that a figure was already looking at it coldly. It sensed that something was wrong and immediately wanted to escape. This death aura was really terrifying. It was much more powerful than Lin Ling's ghost jellyfish's surveillance method. However, how could Lin Ling let it escape? The stairs of wisdom shrouded and locked the death aura in its own world. Then, Lin Ling was not afraid that it would escape. Countless evil spirit jellyfish immediately tore at it and finally swallowed this death aura. We've been discovered. This Lin Ling is really cautious. On the other side, a white-haired youth coldly spat out a sentence. At the same time, a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Then, his eyes also looked at the sky. What was surprising was that he was actually lying in the coffin. Therefore, his eyes were also looking at the coffin lid. He was guessing what Lin Ling wanted to do. But soon, he guessed that Lin Ling wanted to use the underground to escape. On the other side, after Lin Ling had completely resolved his worries, he also hid in the vine forest. One by one, the ghost jellyfish swam out like fish. Then, they quietly approached the underground of the ruins. The flame of the human monarch, golden light dazzling, divine might awe-inspiring. Lin Ling seemed to have seen a wise old man, and also seemed to have seen the first emperor of the human race in the era of gods. As they continued to approach, Lin Ling sensed that the golden flame was extremely huge. It was like a ball of light. They were also breathing. Lin Ling, be careful. In order to be absolutely safe, you must not awaken the human monarch's flame. The giant ghost's voice also sounded in Lin Ling's mind. Lin Ling nodded. This little ghost brought out by the 8 gods' heavenly palace was really powerful. Moreover, Lin Ling suddenly remembered that in the ancient coffin in the Platinum Hall, he saw a huge ancient corpse, and the ancient corpse's face was exactly the same as the giant ghost's. The only difference was that one was huge and the other was small. Thinking about how the giant ghost seemed to know everything, Lin Ling suddenly had a terrifying thought. Could it be that the giant ghost was the 8 gods? According to legend, the 8 gods had several faces: good, evil, greed, benevolence, righteousness, and so on. What are you thinking? Focus. Otherwise, they would never help the humans. Moreover, they also had a bottom line. If they offended the totem, even if their entire tribe was exterminated, they would resolutely resist. Fortunately, those humans had promised them and did not offend their totem, so they just followed the orders of the humans. Who told you to speak? Do your job properly. Are you rebelling? Cut the crap. At this moment, a thunder whip lashed down, causing one of them to suck in a breath of cold air. It turned out that there were also humans here watching over them and not letting them act rashly. Senior Brother Qin, did you see a person flying over here? At this moment, a voice could be heard from afar. Following this, 4 figures appeared above the ruins in the blink of an eye. They were the 4 people who had chased after Lin Ling. Humans? Are you kidding me? Other than us, who else is here? Someone in the ruins immediately replied with a smile. When he saw the appearance of the 4 people, he could not help but feel astonished. What happened to the 4 of you? Why are you in such a sorry state? Your ears are missing and even your arms are broken. Shut up. Damn it, that cunning kid. If I see him, I'll definitely tear him into pieces. Shut up. Upon hearing this, the 4 people became furious. Previously, they had called him Grandpa and had their ears and arms bitten off. However, when they were enraged, that cunning kid had escaped. How could they possibly swallow their anger? The half-martial god realm expert was the most furious. Since he had reached the half-martial god realm, he had never been humiliated by a junior at the early stage martial progenitor realm. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. However, at this moment, an oppressive aura suddenly appeared and lingered in the sky, making it difficult for them to breathe. What is this? Hee, isn't this the ancestors' tribulation? Someone is quite lucky and has finally broken through. Ha, here, let me congratulate you in advance. Chapter 3771. Tribulation Success. The 4 of them were stunned for a moment before they burst into laughter. As for the people in the ruins, they also smiled happily. It's extremely difficult to break through to the martial ancestor realm. Now that you're finally going to break through, you've entered a new world. Congratulations. Congratulations. After saying that, they looked at each other and laughed. However, as they laughed, they felt that something was wrong. That was because the people present did not seem to show any signs of breaking through. Moreover, breaking through was a joyous occasion. However, this place was the most unsuitable for breaking through because it could easily awaken the human king's flame. At that time, they would be in vain. Who's breaking through? Senior Brother Qin, is it someone from your side? Nonsense. I'm the one who wants to ask if it's someone from your side. Nonsense. Could it be the Fire God tribe? Nonsense. No. Nonsense. Damn it, quickly find that person and stop him. Otherwise, things will be troublesome. Nonsense. Everyone became anxious because the ancestors' tribulation in the sky was becoming more and more terrifying, as if it was a great tribulation of the world. The people of the fire god tribe were also shocked. They could not care less and fled in all directions. Apparently, they also realized that something big was about to happen. Could it be him? Nonsense. Suddenly, the eyes of the expert whose ear was bitten off narrowed. Why are you still hesitating at this time? Spit it out. Nonsense. The half-step martial god expert was extremely anxious and slapped the expert. The expert said hesitantly, "It's that guy from before." Nonsense. As soon as he said that, the ruins suddenly became silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. It's him again, that troublemaker. Nonsense. Which school is he from? I'm so angry. He's only an early-stage martial ancestor. Why is he so powerful? Nonsense. Stop talking nonsense. Find him immediately and stop him from breaking through. Nonsense. Then, the people did not have time to be angry and began to search around. However, they did not know that Lin Ling was smiling bitterly under the ground. He was about to break through the tribulation. The ancestors' tribulation came at the right time. Lin Ling, you're almost there. Hang in there. Yes. However, the giant ghost didn't show any signs of viciousness. Instead, it seemed to be a little anxious. Obviously, he also knew that if the human monarch's flame was awakened, it would cause a huge commotion. Lin Ling nodded solemnly when he heard this. He knew as well that if he were to give up now, then all his previous efforts would be wasted. So, he had to persist and allow the human king's flame he stole from within his body to grow even larger. Rumble. At this time, a great world tribulation finally came crashing down from the sky. Motherfucker. It's one thing to cross a tribulation, but it's actually such a great tribulation. Looking at the doomsday-like sky, everyone in the ruins was so angry that their teeth fell out. Did that guy who was going through the tribulation think that things weren't big enough? So he directly sent out a great tribulation. Quick, 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 find him immediately. Over there, that guy is actually hiding underground. Stop him at once. Everyone madly rushed towards Lin Ling's direction, but at this time, countless vines rushed out from the ground, forming an ancient forest that blocked these people from approaching. There were many of them and they had powerful talents, so it was difficult for little Kunlun to kill them. However, little Kunlun didn't need to kill them. It only needed to stop them. Boom! Almost at the same time, the Great World Tribulation finally came crashing down. It was as if the heavens and earth were cleaning up the world. Any heaven-defying disciple would be killed. Below the ground, Lin Ling was hit by the Great World Tribulation. He immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and his body seemed to be splitting apart. After all, he didn't resist at all and allowed the Great World Tribulation to come crashing down. Hang in there. The giant ghost became ferocious at this moment. As for Lin Ling, he also became ferocious. The second Great World Tribulation came, and he gritted his teeth and withstood it. However, all of his bones instantly cracked apart. A wave of purifying power was purifying everything in his body. Of course, his physical strength had greatly increased, especially the dragon pearl not long ago that greatly increased the talent of the sky dragon and dragon god. Otherwise, in the past, he would have been killed without any resistance. Shoo! Shoo! More and more ghoul jellyfish returned. Hang in there. At this moment, the giant ghost also became anxious. Boom! The third Great World Tribulation came. Lin Ling seemed to be turning to ashes, but at this moment, the last ghoul jellyfish swallowed a wisp of the human king's flame and finally came back rapidly along the ground. His speed was even faster than usual, as if he was a fish. Looking at the sky again, the fourth wave of the calamity of the great world had arrived. This wave of calamity would probably claim Lin Ling's life. Lin Ling, that's enough. The giant ghost could not help but shout. It also knew that Lin Ling was in danger. However, Lin Ling remained motionless. He sat cross-legged like an immovable wisdom king. Crazy. The giant ghost was shocked by Lin Ling's craziness. Now, he was not even resisting. Rumble. The Great Tribulation finally arrived. It blasted the ground, and the huge forest of Little Kunlun was torn apart. As for the surrounding experts, they were all blown apart. And the Great Tribulation rushed towards Lin Ling along the ground. But at this moment, the last ghoul jellyfish rushed into Lin Ling's body as if it did not care about its life. Thank you, everyone. Next, let us welcome the Great Tribulation. Once the ghoul jellyfish disappeared, Lin Ling finally stood up. Like a sleeping dragon waking up, all kinds of power erupted. Talent fusion. 6 Danshan's fusion. Tyrannical sword, true legacy dark sword. Spacetime divine steel. Rumble. The ground seemed to have been overturned. Looking from the ruins, the soil was tumbling. It was horrifying. However, this was not the end. Next was the 5th Great World Tribulation, the 6th, and the 7th. All the surrounding experts were numb. They looked ahead angrily. A few weak-willed people even cried. That guy was really undergoing the tribulation here. Meanwhile, Little Kunlun had recovered too, but it stared ahead worriedly. Gradually, the tribulation of the great world finally disappeared. The ruins returned to peace. At that instant, a figure slowly floated into the air. A blue robe and a giant sword. Who else could it be but Lin Ling? Furthermore, his strength had improved tremendously. His 6 Danshans had all reached the 4th layer martial progenitor realm. The deathly qi that he had devoured at the Kaiyuan River had been completely refined. Damn it, it's you. I knew it was you. Seeing the calm young man, everyone was infuriated. It was indeed Lin Ling. This guy was detestable. As expected of a troublemaker. Die. There was someone who hated Lin Ling the most, and he actually attacked directly. He transformed into a giant ape covered in blood-red hair and charged towards Lin Ling. 7th grade ultimate desolated body. It was the bloodline of the mighty god. However, the talent was limited. 7th grade was most likely the limit. That being said, after reaching the limit, the power of the talent would be unleashed, making it stronger and more ferocious. Chapter 3772. The Human King had awakened. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? What made me fearful earlier was merely that strand of death qi. Seeing this, Lin Ling also slowly pulled out the tyrannical song sword. When the mountain-like giant ape pounced at him, he slashed down from above. This sword strike contained the might of his 6 Danshans and 80% of his ancestral power. If Lin Ling's sword not long ago represented 1, then now it represented 6. Whoosh! With a single slash, the crimson ape was sliced in half, and it was killed before it could even get close to Lin Ling. Dawei. Everyone was stunned. They had never thought that the troublemaker would suddenly become so powerful. Good, good, good. I have to say, you've really surprised me. When others break through, their strength will double, but I'm afraid it's 10 times. However, do you really think you can escape from us? Let me tell you, this time, you won't be able to escape. The half-step martial god with a broken arm said coldly. He couldn't hold it in any longer. He was a half-step martial god and stood above everyone else. However, he had been humiliated by that junior again and again. His arm was broken, and he still couldn't take revenge. If he didn't kill that junior, he wouldn't be human. Lin Ling smiled and was just about to say something when his expression changed. That was because the giant ghost was telling him that things had gotten troublesome. Sorry, I don't have time to fight with you today. Let's fight next time. Little Kunlun, come back. Without further ado, Lin Ling fused his talent and summoned Little Kunlun. Then, he rushed back the way he came. You, bastard, run away again. The half-martial god realm expert almost vomited blood when he saw Lin Ling leaving as if he was a fool. If you're not convinced, you can try to catch me. Of course, I think that you'll also run away next. However, Lin Ling's indifferent voice drifted over from afar. Catch up with Lin Ling? Not to mention the current Lin Ling, they might not even be able to catch up to the previous Lin Ling. However, what did Lin Ling mean when he said that they were going to escape as well? Rumble. At this moment, the wrath of an emperor permeated the air. Golden light shone resplendently, as if a king of men was enraged. It was as if the ancestors of mankind had awakened. The flame of the human king has awakened. How could this be? How could this be? It's over, it's over. My flame of the human king. Shut up. That brat was transcending his tribulation here. Unless the human monarch's flame is a pig, how could it possibly wake up? This person has done a lot of harm. The various experts were both alarmed and furious. Speaking of Lin Ling, all of them began to curse angrily. That fellow was indeed a troublemaker. Wang. But at this time, a golden ripple spread out in all directions with the ruins as the center. Everywhere it passed, everything turned golden. Then, it turned into nothingness and merged into the light. Terrifying. It was as if there was nothing in the world that could resist the golden light. No, it should be golden flames. The various experts were stunned. Then, their bodies turned into golden flames and surged forward, finally disappearing without a trace. Dead. In a face-to-face confrontation, they were completely annihilated. Only 2 of them managed to escape. Fortunately, the 2 of them reacted quickly. When the ruins had just begun to shake, they had immediately retreated. Otherwise, their outcome would have been the same. They hid in a distant place and looked ahead in disbelief. Only 2 words came out of their mouths: it's over, it's over. It's over. They knew that the young master's plan, which had been prepared for many years, had been completely destroyed. The deathly aura under the ground had probably also been destroyed. The awakened human monarch's flame was indeed terrifying. Scram. Go. Then, they sensed a consciousness in their minds. It was the human monarch's flame. At that moment, they hurriedly ran away, leaving this place of trouble. Wang. The formless voice was still spreading out, as if telling everyone that anyone who approached the ruins would be killed without mercy. And this was also the might of the human monarch. What happened? Why has the human monarch's flame awakened? You guys can't do anything right. The 2 of them ran all the way, but they met someone along the way. It was Tianjing. At that moment, he had also sensed the changes in the human monarch's flame. He was so angry that his face was distorted. It's not our fault. It's that kid from before. The 2 of them said sullenly. Him again? I asked the 4 of you to kill him. In the end, not only did you not succeed, he ruined our plans. Furthermore, all of you are dead, leaving only the 2 of you. Tianjing was stunned. He, who had always been calm, was now enraged. That martial ancestor junior was simply a troublemaker. At that moment, he did not know how to explain this to the young master. He's really a troublemaker. He dragged so many people down with him even before he died. He even caused our efforts to be in vain. Did you know that the young master had prepared for 100 years to steal the deathly aura? When the deathly aura finally approached the human monarch's flame, he did not manage to steal anything. Then, 100 years of hard work was all for naught. Tianjing clenched his fists and trembled continuously. Senior brother Tianjing, this is not what we wanted. Furthermore, that kid is not dead. He escaped again. One of them said with a bitter smile. What? Tianjing felt as if his heart had been cut by a knife. It was very painful. Furthermore, he successfully broke through. If it were not for the calamity caused by his breakthrough, the human monarch's flame would never have awakened. The other person said. Hearing this, Tianjing felt as if his heart had been ruthlessly stabbed twice. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Go and kill him. If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Tianjing could not hold it in any longer. If it were not for the fact that he had to return to report to the young master, he would definitely have personally taken action. All right. The two of them did not need Tianjing's reminder. They could not wait to kill Lin Ling as soon as possible. Bastard! Tianjing cursed angrily. Then, he flew into the distance. After a while, he finally arrived at a land of dead silence. This place was filled with ghosts, drifting everywhere. Moreover, there were elites entering and exiting from time to time. However, upon closer inspection, they were all extremely young. Of course, their strength was not weak. They were the top elites of the divine 3 halls of the 36 academies. However, Tianjing did not stop. Finally, he landed in front of a tombstone. He looked deeply at the tombstone, and then slowly said, "Young master, we have failed." The tombstone was silent. After a while, the soil rolled, and an ancient and smelly coffin was pushed out of the soil. Pung! The lid of the coffin was opened, and a tall figure walked out. This person was dressed in a long gray robe. His long hair flowed freely, and his hands were clasped behind his back. Although he did not speak, there was a strong sense of majesty about him. Senior brother Tianjing, you guys are really useless. After walking out, this person said coldly. This person looked to be about the same age as Tianjing. Obviously, he was also a student of the academy. However, he was able to summon so many elites. This also showed how powerful he was. If you were not a member of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance, would have already planted a goo poison in your body. The man said again. Chapter 3773. The Angry Lin Ling. That young man's name was Wanyan Bupe. Not only was he extremely strong, but he was also the young master of the place of eternal slumber. His father was the second strongest cultivator in the place of eternal slumber. The place of eternal rest was one of the vicious 10 of the 9 states. Thus, he was also one of the leaders of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Everyone else had to give him face. This time, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance had taken control of the demonic primordial forest with the help of Wanyan Bupe's father. They had used the roiling aura of death to plunder the cultivation resources of the various tribes, and they had almost even stolen the human king's flame. However, at the critical moment, Lin Ling had ruined their plans. Without a doubt, the Heaven-Crushing Alliance would definitely kill Lin Ling. As for Tianjing, she roughly explained what had happened. However, just as he finished speaking, Wanyan Bupe also opened his mouth. I already knew. I even know who that person is. Who is it? Speaking of that person, Tianjing's eyes were filled with killing intent. His name is Lin Ling. Lin Ling? Perhaps you haven't heard of this name before, because he's not a member of the Divine 3 Halls. He's a newcomer. However, I'm sure you've heard of the Transcendence Tower, the E-Garden, and the emergence of a student from the Blizzard Academy. It's him? Heaven Crystal finally reacted. Although Lin Ling already had a bit of fame in the 36th college, the strongest experts of the third hall rarely returned to the college, so they only had a rough idea. Bastard, it's actually him. Is he courting death? Heaven Crystal clearly did not care about Lin Ling at all. Don't underestimate him. Firstly, he broke my death goo and blocked my supervision. It's not bad to have this ability. Secondly, this person was known as the Immortal in the 9 prefectures. It was a miracle that he didn't die time and time again. Third, this person defeated Duan Wuhan. It is said that his talent is not much weaker than Duan Wuhan's. Wanyan Bupo said coldly. Humph, that's because you haven't met me yet. Sky Crystal could not accept this. Really? Given another 100 years, do you have the confidence to defeat Duan Wuhan? Wanyan Bupo retorted. Tian Jing didn't dare to answer. Duan Wuhan had awakened the Duan family's #1 bloodline. Although his current realm was low, his potential couldn't be underestimated. 100 years later, he still didn't have the confidence to defeat Duan Wuhan. Moreover, this lad is very cunning. After spoiling our plan, I think he has already left the demon forest. Wanyan Bupo said coldly. Although his words were simple, his eyes were filled with killing intent. Clearly, he couldn't swallow the fact that Lin Ling had ruined his plans. If there's a chance, kill him, including all his family and friends. I want to put goo worms in them. Wanyan Bupo said word by word, then walked back to the coffin. He also knew that not long ago at the Kai Yuan River, Lin Ling had killed several experts from the land of eternal slumber. One of them was the Blood Silkworm King, an expert that the land of eternal slumber had focused on nurturing. You're just Lin Ling. Trash who doesn't even have a ranking on the divine list. Tian Jing also left, but the killing intent in his eyes didn't diminish. He knew that Wanyan Bupo was an expert ranked 300th on the divine list. How could Lin Ling be a match for Wanyan Bupo? Unfortunately, Lin Ling had escaped from their heaven-crushing alliance. Otherwise, if Lin Ling was still in the demon forest, they would make Lin Ling know how to write the word death. At this moment, Lin Ling was running madly along the forest. He was extremely excited. According to the giant ghost, he only needed to prepare a few materials, and he would be able to refine the human king's flame. This was a talent that wasn't much weaker than the dragon god's bloodline. In fact, it was slightly stronger. If he could successfully refine it, wouldn't Lin Ling's strength increase greatly? He returned to the place where he had barbecued meat, and prepared to take away the platinum evil spirit. When he arrived, Lin Ling immediately discovered that there was a pool of platinum mud on the ground. Moreover, it was quietly merging. Tian Jing is really powerful. Even the god of assassins couldn't defeat the platinum evil spirit, but he could. Lin Ling couldn't help but become serious. The experts of the 3 divine halls' strongest circle were indeed very powerful. The experts that martial god Wen Tian had summoned were so, and so were the experts that he saw today. His green Buddhist flames are just the perfect counter to the platinum evil spirit. Yes. However, the giant ghost beside him spoke. Lin Ling also agreed with this point. Although the platinum evil spirit didn't have any intelligence, it was still a martial god. How could it be defeated so easily? However, Lin Ling still had a feeling that the top experts on the divine list stairway to heaven would definitely have defeated martial gods when they were at the half-step martial god realm. There was always someone better than you. Although the martial god realm was very powerful, there were always exceptions. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes suddenly lit up as he silently waited for the platinum evil spirit to revive. He immediately rushed forward. There was a forest in front of him, but it was silent. When Lin Ling entered it, his eyes suddenly shuddered. He saw a large number of people kneeling on the ground, their faces facing the same direction. However, they were all dead. Boom! Lin Ling's heart instantly exploded. This group of people was Huan and the others. They must have been killed by Tianjing. Bastard! For some reason, Lin Ling's heart was filled with anger. Although Huan and Lin Ling had met by chance, Lin Ling had a good impression of him, especially when he knew that Lin Ling's barbecued meat was delicious. He had even told Lin Ling, "Master, please make the meat delicious." This guy was a glutton. However, Huan didn't get to eat the best meal. "It's because of me," Lin Ling said word by word, his voice turning hoarse. He felt that the wind beside his ears was a little harsh at this moment, as if a knife had landed on his heart. He also felt that the sunlight in the sky was a little blinding at this moment, as if a sword had landed on his heart. That was because Huan reminded him of the stone gods. They were simple and kind and only wanted to live here forever. However, humans invaded their home for their own benefits and casually slaughtered their lives. If Huan wasn't by his side, Tianjing might not have killed him. Therefore, Lin Ling knew that Tianjing was venting his anger on Huan. "It's not your fault. Even without you, they would still kill the fire gods if they wanted to." Beside him, the giant ghost suddenly said. However, Lin Ling shook his head and looked deeply at the group of kneeling people. From their faces, Lin Ling saw pain. They must have been burned by the green flames before they died. However, they persevered. They knew that they were going to die, so they all knelt in the direction of the ruins. That was because they also wanted to return to their hometown. Bang! Lin Ling's fist suddenly clenched. A murderous aura emanated from his body. "Lin Ling, don't be rash. You've already obtained the human monarch's flame. Leaving this place is still the priority. Moreover, aren't you looking for people? If you waste time here, you might miss out on those people." You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.